Welcome into Talking Ball with Mike Renner. I obviously am Mike Renner here, but it's not just going to be me on the Talking Ball podcast. It is also going to be, if you were a tailgate listener, producer Mike Quinn will also be joining me on the Mike Quinn. How was your summer, man?
It's good, man. So I always use the joke that like working at PFF is kind of like being a teacher, and that you don't like. I know teachers work during the summer, and so do we, but it's scaled back significantly. So yeah, I mean, if you work at PFF, you probably enjoy your summers, and it's good to be back, man. Like you mentioned the tailgate listeners. I'm guessing there's going to be a lot of tailgate listeners because we actually put this up on like the tailgate RSS feed. So if you logged in your phone this morning and you saw, oh, there's a new episode of Tailgate, kind of not. I mean, it's 2 out of 3.
I will say I was pretty jazzed about the summer off, or like the little hiatus, I'll say, because I'm coming back stronger than ever this season in terms of like my excitement for this podcast this season. I think I needed the summer. I played a lot of golf and it was fantastic. Didn't watch a lot of baseball though. It did not. I'm a Brewers fan, not a Reds fan here in Cincinnati. That is not what I did with my time off. But let's get into the Talking Ball podcast and what you guys are going to expect here on this show. Pretty much every show is going to be kind of a segment of about 30 to 45 minutes. That starts with the Talking Ball segment, which will be just stories around the NFL, and then on to kind of like a bigger, higher level, whether it's, mock draft, rankings, game previews, game reviews, that sort of thing. And then we're going to get it to interviews. We got a lot of good guests lined up for you on this podcast. We have Gayle of The Ringer. You may know him, may have heard of him, an elite mind in the space. He's going to be on this show. Little longer this show, but we got Kevin O'Connell lined up. We got Brett Bielema lined up. We got Eric Galco, the Shrine Bowl director, lined up. We're going to have a lot of great guests for you. So every show you can expect a guest interview. If you guys want to skip over that, they're going to be a little longer form interviews. 30 minutes to an hour is what we're shooting for with all these guys. Get to really know them, get really deep in the weeds with these dudes. If you want to skip those, that's on you. That's your prerogative. We're going to give you a full show outside of that as well. So about a half-hour interview, half hour before that, and then half hour at the end of segments that we're going to get into on this show. We're going to be looking at Positive Vibes Only Online is one of the names of the segment. Can't wait to see what that one's all about. It's Acho time. That one should be fairly self-explanatory.
Never-ending content.
Never-ending. That one, we can make that a daily episode or a daily segment, and there would be content there to fill. Would you rather? Which when we get to it, I literally stole this from Matthew Collar of Purple Insider. I was asking him for tips on how to solo host, and he said, do a Would You Rather. And so I'm doing a Would You Rather. So shout out to Matthew Collar of Purple Insider. If you don't know him, go follow him. And then football adjacent power rankings at the end. So those are at the end. Let's get into, though, the Talking Ball segment. Some stories from around the NFL. We got into a lot of these with Austin Gayle, so I'm going to keep this one fairly brief, talk about some preseason training camp takes. My thoughts on preseason, to kick it right off on this, I'm going to really get into on the Monday show, like stock up, stock down for rookies, who looks good, who looks bad, that sort of thing. But I do think it's valuable in terms of like player evaluation, especially for rookies, who's ready. And especially like along the line of scrimmage, offensive lineman, who's going to be week one starting and looking good, who is ready to play right out the gate. I am not making any sweeping generalizations about a guy's career. Like the fact that Matt Corral looked like absolute shit and then got hurt and is going to miss a season, I don't think that has a bearing to me on what he's going to be for the rest of his career. So that's just get that out of the way. Just say that right now. I will say, though, when you get these training camp highlights from beat reporters and beat reporters' takes from like camp, I really take those with a grain of salt. Now, a guy like consistently making plays and like for weeks on end, getting hyped up from beat reporters and then like coaches saying stuff about him, sure. But I mean, I don't trust a lot of like journalists take on like what happened after a game when they say what happened. So I'm not going to take those reports from camp and really run with those a lot too much in the preseason. I'm going to trust what I see with my own eyes on an actual football field in the preseason games. So like I said, Monday we'll get into those a little bit more. But we did have a good story from this past week. Story may not be the right word, but we did have a good sort of litmus test, I'll say, of do you watch tape, but do you know what the hell you're watching on a football field or not? And it was the Kayvon Thibodeaux injury on a cut block from Thaddeus Moss in the Bengals-Giants game last week. It is a cut block that happens dozens of times around the NFL each week. It happened multiple times in that same game. It happened, I tweeted out a clip the next day of that block being thrown from O.J. Howard on the Bills on a Colts defensive end. I'm not exactly sure which one. It is a low block that happens on split zone plays. And you saw anyone that was calling it dirty, anyone that was calling it shameful, suspension worthy, it just either one, have a problem with the game of football itself, or two, you haven't watched enough to know that that's just a block that happens all the time. The tight end comes across formation on split zone and cuts the defensive end. Because if he takes him on high, he's going to get his ass kicked because defensive ends are 20 to 30 pounds heavier than most tight ends, are far more physical. And it's just a block where when you're in space, getting low on a guy is a far easier way to get him to the ground, to get him out of the play than trying to engage that defensive end. So that one was one that I had to call out for a number of reasons. But basically, if you saw someone lamenting that block and saying, oh, Kayvon Thibodeau, that was cheap shot. No, like I would simply suggest don't take on a block with your MCL. Don't lead with your knees, because that is a block that's going to happen to you daily or weekly if you're Kayvon Thibodeau in the NFL.
If Thad's dad did that, Randy, people would have loved it.
Yeah.
People love every day. They'd be like, you got mossed.
I got mossed.
He kind of did get mossed.
Randy probably has thrown that exact same block. And it's unfortunate, but I do think that we're legislating out high blocks. We're legislating out guys going for heads, guys going high up around the shoulders. You're limiting the strike zone. I don't think that's one that the NFL is going to take a look at and say, we need to take this out of the game. That one's pretty run of the mill. I mean, I get that they got rid of the offensive line getting cut down to the edge, but that's a little different scenario where you have a 180-pound guy going up against a 300-pound guy, where that 180-pound guy can be coming quick at an offensive lineman who's just not ready. Whereas the tight end is coming across the formation, can't build up that head of steam to really take out the knees of a guy unexpected like that. So it's unfortunate. I was looking forward to watching Kayvon Thibodeau play more, because truthfully in the two games, he really hadn't shown much. Looked a lot like the guy we saw at Oregon in terms of like lacking a pass rush plan. But yeah, I do think that's one that not as big a deal as it's being made out to be. That's all we got, though, for the Talking Ball segment. Like I said, let's get to the interview with Austin Gayle, because a lot of good stuff's there. Here we go. I am joined now by friend of the pod, big friend of the pod, roommate of the pod currently, Austin Gayle, the Ringer Zone, an elite mind in the space, and is in the flesh right here. Our first in-person guest. How you feel, buddy?
Dude, I can't believe, one, that you're doing a podcast without me. I fucking hate that. I'm sad. Two, it's sick to be back in the studio. I freaking love that. Can I say something to start? Welcome in to Tailgate in sunny Cincinnati. I miss it, man. Cincinnati. We're still roommates now, but I'm excited to get out.
I tried to listen to your pod. You're on the NFL show, the Ringer NFL show with Jason Goff. Is that right? Name? And I got like 15 minutes and I'm like, dude, I can't listen to him on another podcast. It's not right. Just doesn't feel right. But we are still living together until October, when you're going to move out to LA. I'm going to be then actually rooming with Trevor Sikkema. I don't know if that's common knowledge or if that's finalized yet, but then Trevor's moving in. So homie hopper, which is going to get us to our very first topic to get into, because we missed a lot this summer. Zach Wilson, the homie hopper. What a story that was.
I have a take. A take on that. And I'm excited that Catch and Only Buzz lives on, even though maybe you're not using that framing for this new podcast. But is that not the best news that Zach Wilson has had all off season? The fact that like he slept with a mom, or like supposedly slept with a mom, or whatever it was, that was the most positive news Zach Wilson has had in his like fucking 2-year NFL career. And like you had CJ Uzomah coming in with like he has like a Zach Wilson shirt that says like man of the people, or like #1 voted person or whatever. Since then, made that awful decision to cut back inside instead of going out of bounds to hurt his knee. Has not like looked good in practice. People are saying Joe Flacco looks better. The line movement on the Jets, by the way, in week 1 being non-existent, even though it's probably likely he's not going to play, is hilarious. I mean, the Mill Slayer stuff was the best of his 2-year career so far.
I mean, it legitimately won over the locker room for like she thought his ex-girlfriend was now dating Dax Milne. Legitimately thought that was a burn. She did not understand how males operate, which was probably what led to their breakup. But legitimately thought he was burning. She was like getting him by saying that, when every man in America is immediately like, nice.
Yeah. The quote, like, or her caption or like the comment was, "Oh, I'm a homie hopper. He slept with his mom's best friend," and everyone's like, that's sick. Yeah. Which is kind of fucked. Like, I think if you pull back a little bit, you're like, okay, if this guy was like sleeping with older women at like 18, like I look at the mom in that situation. I don't know. It's a weird thing to talk about, but it is hilarious.
That is the thing though. Like everyone conjures up in their mind, like Zach Wilson's mom's very attractive. You're just like assuming it's a very attractive woman, but your average like 40-plus-year-old female is not, you know. But
we're getting into dangerous territory here, but I get what you're saying.
But Quinn, you have the video. If we can check it out. His mom on Instagram showed the friend and said, yes, let's check this video.
No, wait, really?
In case y'all missed it, Zach Wilson's mom, Lisa, shared what her friend looks like on Instagram. And here it is.
This is my cute friend, Suzanne. Hi. She has bijou.
I got sweaty at your dance class too.
Yep, she came and shook it with me today, and I said, look at all these cute necklaces. I must come.
Yes. You have all
And
these
just so you know, no. Okay, the people questioning, no. Shut up.
No.
Shut up. I have good friends. You guys are idiots.
I don't know. That's dangerous game here. I don't like that they're playing into it.
I do. Why would she? Like, I think it probably happened.
Right? Yeah, I agree. Like after watching that video, I had not seen that before. Like just the demeanor of both moms in that situation. I don't know. I don't even know if she's a mom, right? It's a mom's friend, you know? So maybe she doesn't have kids. Who fucking knows? But like, she's like, no, it didn't happen. That's, I talk about positive news for Zach Wilson. That mom's friend, most positive news she's probably seen in her career as well.
All right, on to more Catch an Early Buzz here. We'll rehash it.
Keep it. I'd love you to keep it. That'd be good homage to the Tailgate Pod.
Dude Perfect is now announcing Thursday Night Football. Or is they doing a simulcast for Thursday Night Football? Your favorite YouTube channel, Dude Perfect, right? You've told me that before.
My God. So for those who, big Tailgate listeners, which I'm sure we have a lot of on this podcast, me and Mike still like text off and obviously we live together. As soon as I saw that news, I sent it to you. And I'm like, who in the absolute hell is watching that? Like, Dude Perfect commenting on NFL games sounds like an absolute nightmare. When did these guys become more than just like trick shots? I don't follow them enough to know if they like actually like know football or anything.
They had the first mover advantage that they were the first people to figure out that sitting there for 3 hours trying one trick shot and then putting that one clip on YouTube is like good content that people will watch.
Yeah.
If you do that for like, enough times, people find that interesting. And there's like whole TikTok accounts now dedicated to it that people just like live stream themselves like doing these stupid ass challenges that have a bunch of followers. Like people, that's an interesting thing. Their personalities, on the other hand, are not why people watch them. So unless they're doing fucking trick shots on the side during these games, I don't know what the hell Amazon's doing. They're throwing money left and right though for this shit.
I just went to their Twitter, which I have never been to before. One of their latest tweets is Dude Perfect plus a cruise perfect, and it's them in this little. This looks like hell. And then Dan Orlovsky on August 13th, the latest Dude Perfect episode, world's longest trick shot machine, top 3 ever, absolutely fantastic. That's all you need to know. That's all you need to know. That's all you need to know. I'm gonna watch. It's gonna be like watching pain, but I am gonna watch. It's gonna be. I just don't have high hopes for it though.
The Dan Orlovsky endorsement really like. You saw that coming from a mile away. You could have just told me Dan Orlovsky, he probably has his kids, they probably sit down on like a Friday night and just go through all the Dude Perfect videos.
There's also nothing impressive. You brought up like the TikToks like dedicated to doing those like trick shots or whatever. Like you have guys who are sitting down at the top of a stairwell trying to like throw a coin into a cup for like an hour, like days on end. There's nothing impressive about that outside of just like your sheer commitment to the bit, you know what I mean, in terms of just sitting there trying to throw like a CD into like an old Wii. Like I don't understand the infatuation with those things. It's not that fucking cool. If you do it for 8 hours and then you hit one, it's not that cool.
Yeah, it really is pretty lame. Like legitimately, that's a lame thing to do as your like life.
Yeah,
is to just do trick shots. But they make a lot of money for it, so I can't even hate that much on it. But all right, last Catch an Early Buzz here. No, we got a couple more.
There's 2 here.
Kyler Murray calling plays in the fourth quarter. Cliff Kingsbury turning it around on him, saying, "Hey, you think this is so easy? You go do it." Immediately, I thought of you because this is you're Mr. like anti-Cardinals. You hate everything to do with decision making in the front office.
Yes,
at the head coaching position, you have a war on Flock Nation. Which I think I actually used that right. I think they are actually.
I think
Flock
they
Nation.
are Flock Nation.
Okay.
No, they're the Red Sea.
Oh no, they're the Red Sea. It was Baltimore that was Flock.
Yeah, Baltimore.
You have a war on Flock Nation.
Yeah, I do.
What did you think of the move?
The Kyler Murray saga over the offseason has been insane. Like, obviously, you had the contract that said, like, he had to, like, commit 4 hours of independent study, which people asking after that, like, how the hell does the Cardinals have... I brought this up on Tailgate multiple times. the GM situation in Arizona is unprecedented. How long? I'm losing his name on top of my head. GM in Arizona.
Shug White.
Huh?
What's his actual name?
Steve Keim. Steve Keim he's only worked for the Arizona Cardinals since like the early 1990s or something. No other like executive in the NFL has had one team.
He's had like a DUI over that span and like did a lot of things.
That long of a leash leads to some absurdity. And like an example of that contract. And who leaked that? I still don't understand like why that happened. It was all weird. Kyler Murray likes to play a lot of video games, whatever. Then you have him calling plays in the fourth quarter and like saying that it's hard and not knowing like what he's doing. Like the offense was like, I think it had like 4 total yards when he was calling plays or something. It's dangerous in the Red Sea.
They netted 0 yards during the two drives, 2 3-and-outs, netted 0 yards when Kyler's in. Now, obviously it's backups preseason. They're already winning the game, but
I worry about the Arizona Cardinals. I know we're going to talk about like division previews and stuff, but like,
well, they're not that talented.
Yeah.
It is like the problem is that like Kyler Murray, which I honestly think he got too much hate for the 4 hours of study thing and whatever. And his reaction to it of being like, he thought he was like offended by it. Like, I wouldn't that people didn't think he put in the work. It's like, honestly, that's not offensive. That means people think you're so unbelievably talented that you were the front runner for MVP before you got hurt and DeAndre Hopkins got hurt, that you can just get by on that. So like, it's almost a compliment that people thought you didn't study or whatever prior to this. So I don't agree on that, but he's carrying I don't want to say sinking ship, but it's like a ship that's never gotten above its head above water.
A ship that's objectively bereft of talent.
Yeah,
like the offensive line is not elite tier. Receiving core, especially with DeAndre Hopkins suspended for the first 6 games, is awful. Like AJ Green's going to be their number 1 guy to start. Andy Isabella is still getting snaps and shit like that. Defensively, they haven't been able to hit. They lose Chandler Jones this offseason. Yeah. Like
that's where I worry.
This is not a super talented roster by any means. Small corners, small receivers. Kyler Murray is the only thing that's keeping this team relevant, whether or not he's staying up all night to play Call of Duty anyway. So I think that how that came out with the contract situation and now like getting this negative publicity around calling plays in the fourth quarter, I just think it's a very flawed organization that continues to make absurd, unprecedented mistakes. But then you go back to this whole thing of Steve Keim literally like, I don't know if he has nudes of the owners or whatever, but like he just can't do any wrong, despite drafting horrendously outside of the Kyler Murray pick, which was an absolute gift. He was the number 1 overall pick and like still had the leash to like draft him there and all that stuff. So I worry about the Arizona Cardinals in an NFC West that I think the Rams are gonna like walk to a division title. Trey Lance is going to be on a roller coaster. Arizona Cardinals are a literal walking roller coaster, and obviously Seattle Seahawks are going to be dog shit next year. I like the Rams a lot in the futures market right now.
Speaking of nudes that you brought up there, it's the last Catch and Lay Buzz, quite segue. And this is going to be bad content for you if you're just listening on the pod. But if you go check out the YouTube channel or just go search it on Twitter, you will find what is the greatest that I think of every time training camp kicks off, the greatest tweet, in my opinion, of all time, which is Peter King in 2012, August 2nd, 2012, tweeted out a picture of Neil Hornsby, the founder of PFF, pissing at a urinal. Tweeted out the picture. Because Neil Hornsby and Peter King used to go on a tailgate tour together every year, like when he was first starting out. I don't know.
Peter King and Neil Hornsby are like boys. Like they're like good friends.
Very tight. They used to go every year. I was on it.
Too tight.
Yeah. I was on it a couple times. But like this was back in the early days of Twitter when like retweets were you had to literally copy.
That's right.
People's stuff. So like he never thought it was really going to get out, or I don't even know what he thought. I'm not trying to get into Peter King's mind, but tweeted out a picture of Neil pissing. So pour one out because obviously Neil Hornsby no longer with PFF. Peter King no longer with NBC, I believe. We're no longer with Sports Illustrated, now at NBC. So that tweet, I bring it up every training camp. It's just worth recognizing.
So if you're go to the YouTube channel and look at this fucking tweet because it's absolutely incredible. There's an article though, if you like look up, I just Google search Peter King urinal tweet. There's an article that calls Neil Hornsby a writer, and that is hilarious. He said there's a picture of Peter King snapped of Pro Football Focus writer Neil Hornsby using a urinal at a baseball game. It is that's hilarious. Neil Hornsby literally founded PFF. But that tweet is hilarious. I mean, I also
didn't get deleted.
Is that not you next to him?
No, it wasn't me. My brain though is fried. I forget what I was gonna say, but I've been on steroids for a rash that I have. Full disclosure, I feel like this might be what your brain's like all the time. Because I start talking and I go places and I cannot stop. I did a hit.
Asshole. My brain's not that.
Okay,
fucking,
no, I'm saying, but I'm saying
my brain's just like flawed as hell.
No, I'm saying just like I keep going and I can't stop, and then I go down a direction, and I'm like, oh shit, I don't know how to recover from it. Like you've learned how to recover from it because you've like been like that your whole life. I'm just feeling like this right now.
Welcome to the show. Welcome to the fucking show. How in depth is this rash? Is it spreading or is it slowing down?
It was pretty bad. You can kind of see it on my forearm that it's getting better.
Is that ringworm like Fernando Tatis?
I don't. So it's one of a similar steroids to what he claimed he thought
helped
he was
solve a ringworm.
Yeah, but there is.
Has there ever been?
Did you hear that? So like whatever he took is a steroid. Whatever he thought was like ringworm was like 3 letters away, but a different medicine that solves ringworm. Yeah,
really.
So it was like a complete lie because there is a ringworm medication, but it sounds like what he took, but it was like changed to like it's a different. Yeah. So that was pretty.
Has there ever been in the history of any of these like steroid cases, which is a weird way of framing it, but like incidences where players are getting suspended for steroids, where like their excuse ever made fucking sense? No. Like every single time there's an excuse, and every single time it's like no, like no one, even like the Lance Armstrong stuff. Like you can go back to that. It's like no, dude, like you come on.
Well, like Ryan Braun. Remember when Ryan Braun actually got it overturned? He actually got it overturned, and then it came out later that he tested positive again or something, and then I was like, oh, okay, Ryan Braun's actually a piece of shit. So, yeah, he definitely took steroids. But baseball, this is not a podcast about. So let's get into some actual NFL content. Season predictions. We're going to go division by division, give our favorite for the winner, favorite bet to make, do some awards picks, do some Super Bowl picks, and
Keen.
Let's get right into it.
You haven't asked me about my new gig.
Oh, do you want to talk to new gig?
I kind of want to talk to new gig. We're going to get into the NFL stuff. I mean,
I was going to do that at the end, but that's fine.
Prefacing like this NFL stuff, I'm going to be on like the Ringer NFL show weekly. Should be on the Ringer Gambling show as well, with Raheem Palmer and JJ Johnson-Stremski, and then should be writing a lot more too, which is going to be pretty sick. I'm excited about the new Ringer gig. Has been fun. I also have like working on some non-football stuff. I can't disclose yet, but like
that's what I've heard.
Some like, I don't know, man. It's been fucking cool. It's been a lot of fun. Obviously, I miss Tailgate and miss PFF all the time, but like it's been a lot of fun working with new blood there at the Ringer.
So are you doing mainly content, or are you still managing?
So like, there is like a management layer, and like I'm like on the management team and the executive team, and like making. I'm a principal decision maker in a lot of like content decisions that we're doing, especially like wholesale initiatives on how do we want to cover the new House of the Dragon show, coming out on HBO. Because like the Ringer in its heyday in 2019 was like the website for Game of Thrones coverage with Mallory Rubin and Jason Concepcion and all these things. So like looking at previous year data, historical data to like dictate how we want to show that stuff. All that nerdy shit I was doing at PFF anyway. But then they also want me, as a key part of the content executions, and I'm like traveling to different training camps and stuff like that. It's been cool. It's been a lot of fun.
What are some of like the biggest differences, Ringer versus PFF?
So the Spotify office in LA has a cold brew tap on every single floor, like awesome. On Nitro. So like that's fucking sick.
We don't even have we have an espresso machine here, which so I like can't even complain that much. But we don't even have ice in the office.
Yeah,
to make an ice espresso.
And ice is so key. So like on every floor there's a tap, and on the lobby floor, like the first floor, there's a barista, and they can make whatever the fuck you want, which is sick. And the Spotify dollars are out and about. I'll say that. And I think the other difference is that it's obviously it's a big ass company. It's like owned by a Swedish billion-dollar company or whatever it is. So like there's not as much like work intimacy, right? Like here at PFF, like we lived together.
What were we doing?
We lived together. We fucking hung out all the time and like all that stuff. So a big transition has definitely been like, hey, like
super intimate.
Everyone here is like a big boy, I guess. So I'm kind of becoming a big boy across your eyes here. I don't know where that tangent went. I'll be your big boy though.
I realized I sounded like a massive douchebag complaining that we only have an espresso.
You do sound like a douchebag.
But I was like,
that was the coffee machine that Neil bought too.
I know.
So why don't you, Neil, R.I.P. We're celebrating. Are you going to go to his retirement thing?
Yeah.
His retirement thing is on the 25th. Peter King's coming out. We should recreate the urinal photo.
Oh, dude, we have to actually.
Oh my God, actually, I think we should try and push for that.
Yeah.
If we get that urinal photo, it's Peter King, and then you actually be the guy that you look like in that photo, and I'll be somewhere on the side. Maybe I'll take it. I think.
Oh wait, is it it's the day this podcast is going to drop?
Is it really?
Yeah.
Oh, let's go.
Next Thursday.
If we get that urinal photo.
Yeah,
I think we will. Kismet.
All right, let's get into some predictions. So we'll kick it off. NFC, we'll go NFC East. You got the Cowboys at plus 140, Eagles now at plus 160. They've dropped a lot.
I know.
What were they at when like you were banging
like
the table?
250.
Okay, yeah, they've dropped a lot. Commanders at plus 500, Giants at plus 800. Who you think's going to win? Who do you gonna bet? Are you still betting the Eagles even at plus 160?
So I think even at plus 160, I'd bet the Eagles. I bet them at plus 275. and then have a public facing bet with Cameron Magruder, who is a big
Cowboys
He has a big social media presence. He has a lot of stuff going on, but he's a big Cowboys guy as well. He had he was before TikTok had like a lot of short form vertical video content that was like performing well and stuff. But he saw my tweet right after the draft about plus 275, and he's like, I'll bet you publicly on that stuff, and we're going to do some St. Jude stuff and all that. But now it's down to plus 160, and I still probably take it. Cowboys are one of the few teams this offseason where I feel like they got worse. Losing Amari Cooper, losing Cedric Wilson, losing La'el Collins, and CeeDee Lamb bet his overs because obviously that's a big thing. But you watch the Jalen Tolbert in preseason week 1. I still think it's going to take some time. I know a lot of people are excited about him, but him consistently creating separation as a clear number 2 in this offense, I think is going to take time. Not to say he's a bad player or I still really love the draft pick. I just think rookies often take time. I think Tolbert's going to be one of those guys. Eagles, on the other hand, every report you look at, this thing's positive. Cam Jurgens looking really good at center. Jordan Davis is an absolute monster. AJ Brown, who did not play in the preseason game, is apparently Jalen Hurts' fucking best friend. And Jalen Hurts looked really good in that opener too. I also am a big Nick Sirianni guy. Meeting him at the combine and talking to him and ripping and roaring with him and his kids and all that stuff is cool. I think that the Eagles do win this division.
I am still leaning Cowboys. Now, I probably should have learned my lesson betting on Mike McCarthy after, 15 years of him as a Packers fan. But they're just both sides of the ball. They got the best quarterback in the division, and 2, their offensive line's still good. Still have CeeDee. They're still super talented on the offensive side of the ball. And then defensively, they have enough playmakers. I just think they're going to win. I don't know. I would bet them, and especially since the number's gone up like this, and I also think they're going to win.
I hate the Commanders bet at plus 500. Carson Wentz has looked like ass all camp, apparently. And Dotson,
who could have seen that coming besides
Dotson, I thought looked really good in the preseason game, but I think it's going to be a struggle despite his ball skills for Wentz to put it on the number for him a lot. He is a smaller framed player. I don't know. I worry about the Commanders offense, and the Giants are a dumpster fire. I think Daniel Jones, this is his last hurrah. Kenny Galladay looks like absolute butt in the preseason and in training camp. So I'm not betting Commanders or Giants. I think the Eagles are still the best bet. And I wish people listened at plus 275 right after the draft.
You could probably sell that ticket now. NFC West, Rams at plus 125, 49ers at plus 150, Cardinals at plus 400, and the Seahawks long shot plus 1,800. That's I think that's the 4th longest odds in the NFL as it currently stands to win a division. So who you betting? Who you think's going to win?
How in God's green earth are the 49ers plus 150 and the Rams plus 125? I think the Rams should be. You look at another division, AFC South. Colts are minus 135. Titans are plus 170. That is a much tighter race than Rams Niners, in my opinion. The 49ers are essentially starting a rookie this year who has looked up and down roller coaster in training camp. Nora Princiati of The Ringer, go check out her piece on theringer.com, wrote about how it's just up and down with him right now. And some of the plays you look like you see some progression, and other plays it's hey, needs to be better, needs to be more polished, all that stuff. And their interior offensive line, collectively, I was talking to Ben Lindsay upstairs, PFF analyst, collectively has 200 career snaps played. That, it's going to be a problem. I do think that this offense is going to go through growing pains enough to where plus 150 to win the division isn't value. Will they still be a good football team? Sure, Kyle Shanahan raises that floor. Defense still has talent. But the Rams are reigning Super Bowl champs. Yes, they lost Andrew Whitworth. Yes, they lost Von Miller. But I think the secondary is going to be a lot better than people think. I love that they brought back Troy Hill. They have a new defensive backs coach, John Cooley, who I was there at Rams camp. Everyone is flocking to. That entire secondary is at his hip all practice, more than any other position coach I saw.
He's the defensive backs coach.
No, I'm saying compared to other compared to other position coaches though.
Okay.
That guy's in the mix, and he's a super young guy too. I think he graduated in 2011 from John Carroll, and you can just tell that the energy in that secondary with David Long Jr., with the Isaac Rochelle, another physical, or the former Central Arkansas guy. I can't remember his name. Is. I think it's Rochelle. But anyway, I think that secondary is going to be better than people think. I worry a little bit about
Isaac Rochelle is the former Notre Dame guy.
Who the hell am I thinking of? Robert Rochelle. Anyway, I think they have talent in the secondary, and I think it's overstated the losses of Robert Woods, Von Miller, and Andrew Whitworth. I think the offensive line is still going to be very solid. I think the pass rush, as long as you have Aaron Donald, is going to be good. And offensively, I wrote a piece on The Ringer about Allen Robinson. You can't go a day out practice without seeing Allen Robinson light it up. And he is so, talking to him, he is so excited to have a good quarterback. And he's so excited to be, he brought up to me multiple times, it's everyone here wants to win. I've never been in a place like that. I've never been somewhere where they think we can win. And that just speaks volumes to what he can do with Cooper Kupp and Matthew Stafford. So I think the Rams at plus 125 is the best bet. And I'm so surprised that they aren't minus money like the Colts are in the AFC South.
I will say that to justify the 49ers at plus 150, their defense is very good. Like look at the playoffs. Their offense didn't do shit. You know, like their offense was not the reason why they were almost, you know, a dropped interception away from the Super Bowl, like in the mix to go to the Super Bowl. It's because this defense is legit. And then they add to it with Charvarius Ward. And I strongly believe in Javon Kinlaw, obviously still didn't play last year, but he's looked good from what I've seen, from reports I've seen throughout training camp. So that is kind of the reason to believe in them. But I don't know. I think I'm kind of with you in that I really want the 49ers, but I thought the odds would be a little different than this. I thought it would be like the Rams were 4th in Super Bowl odds just a few weeks ago. I thought they'd be kind of like a minus 150 team, 49ers more like a plus 200. But when it's this close, it's hard to bet against Sean McVay, and it's hard to bet against what we've already seen, a team that just won the Super Bowl. And while I don't think they're going to repeat, and while I think they may have not be as good as they were last season, I think there's reason to believe, you know, Andrew Whitworth, losing him is a big loss. I still probably would lean them as the division winners. And
I think the concerns for the Rams, I think, are the offensive line, because I think there's like a position battle at guard. I think Logan,
but even there, I still feel better about their O-line than the 49ers. Like McGlinchey coming off a torn hamstring is no easy thing. Yeah. So.
And then the other notes from Rams camp, since I was there,
let's hear
it. That receiving room is Van Jefferson, Cooper Kupp, or it's Cooper Kupp, Allen Robinson, Van Jefferson in that order. Van is battling a knee injury, I believe, and might not be back for week 1 or week 2. And the other guy will be Ben Skoranek. Tutu Atwell, the former second-round pick, is not even cracking like wide receiver 5 on that team. And a lot of that is because it's been very difficult with his size to like get him as involved as they want him to be. And like talking to Zach Robinson, former PFF guy, about like Tutu Atwell and his development and all that stuff. And it's just like, we have a lot of really good receivers on this football team, and it's hard for him to get there. Now, do they think he can be a returner? Sure. And so some of that stuff as well. But like a lot of the Tutu Atwell like hope, and I've seen some training camp reports about him saying like he's had a couple good days of practice. I don't think he's going to be heavily involved in the offense. And that doesn't even bring up Tyler Higbee, who they also fucking love. Like they love Higbee, they love Kupp, obviously, Robinson. If Van Jefferson comes back healthy, like he's 4, 5, 6 fiddle in this offense. I worry about that as he obviously goes early in his career. And then Bobby Wagner is the other like underrated addition. Everyone on defense is talking about Bobby Wagner and like how much he makes the experience brings in and all that stuff. They really like Jordan Fuller as well, the guy that was obviously hurt for a lot of last year, the safety. So I think the Rams are going to be fucking good, man. I'm surprised that they're plus 125 to win their own division.
All right, NFC South. We have the Bucs at minus 250, which as it stands right now, still the biggest favorite to win a division in the NFL. Saints at plus 310, Panthers at plus 900, Falcons, the longest shot to win a division in the NFL, plus 3,500. Who's winning it? Who are you betting?
I think the Bucs are winning it. I think they're the rightful favorite. I think they're going to walk to the playoffs. They're minus 750 on FanDuel right now to go to the playoffs, which is like insane. I think that's the biggest favorite of any team in the NFL. I think they win this division. I think they go to the playoffs, and they're primed for a deep postseason run. They're firmly into that tier of Super Bowl or bust. Yeah. You know, like they're not, there's nothing else on the docket there. Now, I think the best bet is Saints plus 310, because that's, I think, a big value for a team that I think has a lot of redemption energy. Dennis Allen, the last time he was a head coach, was like literally booed out of the city of Oakland with me in the stands. I had season tickets during his tenure, and he was awful. I think he only won like 8 games in 3 years or whatever it was, and was fired like after an 0-4 start in his 3rd year. So he's got some redemption energy. Michael Thomas is like a long forgotten top receiver in the NFL. Like he probably doesn't even crack top 10 on anybody's list right now because he hasn't played in a long time. He's got some redemption energy. Alvin Kamara is going to be battling a suspension. Mark Ingram back in New Orleans. And then the 2 LSU guys, Jarvis Landry and Tyrann Mathieu, now playing with the Saints. I think it's going to be a really exciting, fun team that's still going to have a lights-out defense, one of the best defenses in the NFL last year, and an offense that if Jameis Winston or Andy Dalton start for this team, I don't think it's going to be absolutely heinous. Plus 310 is the favorite bet here.
Yeah, that's one of my favorite bets of like any division winner. I'll get to my what is my favorite bet a little later on of any division winner, but that's probably my second favorite just because that's really long shot odds for a team that I don't consider that much of a long shot to win this division. Obviously, the Bucs I still am going to pick to win the division. I do think they're the best team in this division. But Jameis Winston was on his way to a career year last year with Marquez Callaway as his top option. They've added 3 receivers better than Marquez Callaway over the course of the offseason. No one, maybe not added Michael Thomas' case, but like they have 3 now receivers better than Marquez Callaway. Chris Olave, Michael Thomas, Jarvis Landry. Like, they have options for him now. Obviously, offensive line, losing Tron Armstead. I don't even think Trevor Penning starts at left tackle.
He's not going to. James Hurst, I think it's guaranteed
is going to start at left tackle. That's not great, but the rest of the offensive line's still solid. Like, this isn't, left tackle is an issue, but this isn't like a Dolphin situation where it's just going to, quicksand on them. And then you have the defense that quite literally has owned Tom Brady over the last 2 years. So I do think that plus 310 for the Saints is way too long odds for a team that probably still should be making the playoffs. Like, they're so, at the very worst, should be making the playoffs.
I was on the Ringer Gambling Show, which I'll be frequenting during the season, and like we did an NFC South kind of futures preview. I like Saints over 8.5 wins at plus 105. Saints to make the playoffs at plus 118. Jameis Winston over 3,600 passing yards. Like, that's where his prop is right now. That's insane. Like, if he starts all 17 games, he clears that no problem. I do think that they're the best bet. Another bet I like in the NFC South, though, is the Falcons to be the worst team and to go under 4.5 wins. I think that team's going to be dog shit next year. Defense is horrendous. Offensive line is a struggle. Receiving core is Drake London already battling injuries. Like, I worry about the Falcons. There's a reason they're plus 3,500 to win this division.
We're going to get to a team here in the next division that I worry about the most, that I'm going to call the favorite for the number 1 overall pick. It's the NFC North, where the Packers are minus 190. Vikings are plus 265. Lions plus 1,000. And the Bears at plus 1,400 are my pick for the number 1 overall seed. Yeah. Number 1 overall pick next year.
I'm with you. Worst offensive line in the
plus
NFL.
1,400. That one just doesn't make sense.
Worst offensive line in the NFL by like a country mile. Maybe not a country mile. Steelers are pretty bad. Raiders are pretty bad. Seahawks are still struggling, even though like Abe Lucas and Cross looked good. But like Bears offensive line's gonna be bad.
If you're like betting who has like potential, like those other teams have like potential. I don't see the potential, for the Bears to ever be even average.
They're starting Southern Utah 5th round pick Braxton Jones at left tackle, or is it right tackle? One of the 2 tackle spots over Tevin Jenkins, that 2nd round pick. Like that, I'm concerned for Justin Fields. I'm concerned for this offense. That doesn't even bring up that their receiving core is not just shallow as hell, but also lacks top end talent. Defensively, they lose Khalil Mack, which I think is going to take a baseball bat to their pass rush. I worry about the Bears. I think they're going to be really, really bad next year, which is going to put into question, if they do have the number 1 overall pick, does Fields get subbed out for Stroud? Or like, I'm excited for those draft conversations. I think the best bet here is Vikings plus 265 for a lot of the same reasons I like the Saints. Like, I just think it's too big of a margin to bet the Packers. Like, the Packers are not a value at minus 190. Losing Devontae Adams. Defensively, I think they're going to be one of the top defenses in the NFL. I worry about the offensive line. Can Elton Jenkins get back healthy? Can Bakhtiari get back healthy? And that receiving core, like Romeo Doubs is obviously, or is it Dobbs?
It's Dobbs now.
Romeo Dobbs lighting up training camp, lighting up the preseason. I still don't think minus 190 there's value there. There's more value on the Vikings at plus 265, who should, under Kevin O'Connell, who I was talking to Stephen Ruiz recently, and he's like, Kevin O'Connell's going to like really turn this offense on, unlock Justin Jefferson, unlock Kirk Cousins and stuff. If that happens and they stay healthy, I think health is the biggest thing. Cook staying healthy, their offensive line staying healthy. I think this is a playoff competitive team. And I like betting them to make the playoffs, and I like them betting to win this division.
I will say this is also a line, plus 265 with the Vikings. I don't really love any of the bets in this division, but it's a line that could very well change after week 1, because if there's no David Bakhtiari and no Elton Jenkins week 1, you're starting Josh Nijman and maybe Royce Newman at tackle or Zach Tom at tackle for the Packers, going up against Daniil Hunter and Zadarius Smith, who's probably a top 5 edge duo in the NFL. Now, obviously, health's a big concern there. Neither guy was healthy last season, but last time we saw him, those are 2 top 10 edge defenders.
Yeah.
Like, the Packers could lose that game. And then all of a sudden they lose that game to the Vikings. Those odds swing wildly.
Massively.
Right out the gate. So
I think betting futures market after week 1, 2 to like when you see like public overreactions to some things, I think can be really, really where there's value. And I think it brings up a team like the Lions, who are like plus 1,000 to win this division, according to DraftKings. Hard Knocks has them taking a lot of public money right now, which I think is essentially burning money. Like, you're lighting money on fire.
It's all Eric Eager's money.
Yeah, if you're betting the Lions to win the NFC North, I think that's like lighting money on fire. If you're betting them to make the playoffs, I think that's lighting money on fire. I still think that they're a year away from being playoff competitive or competitive in this division. But if you go to FanDuel, like, you see this division swaying in terms of the Vikings having value. So on FanDuel, it's minus 155 Packers to win the division. Vikings plus 240. DraftKings, you get a better price on the Vikings if you are looking to play some futures bet on Minnesota.
All right, AFC East, Bills minus 230, Dolphins plus 450, Patriots plus 500, and the Jets plus 2,800. Where are you putting your money here on this one? Who's winning it?
I'm not probably placing a bet in this division. Like, don't burn your money on like Dolphins or Patriots at plus 450 or plus 500. The Bills, I mean, like, I think that plus 450 and plus 500 probability is banking on like Josh Allen getting hurt for significant time. Like, I don't see the Bills losing this division unless Josh Allen gets hurt for like, even if he gets hurt for 4 games, I think he wins this division. 8 games and it's going to be close. Like, I think if he stays healthy, this team is going to be the favorite to be the number 1 overall seed in the AFC, the favorite to go to the Super Bowl in the AFC, and the rightful minus 230 favorite in the AFC. So I think you don't lay any money here and betting a division winner. I do think that the Bills win, though.
See, this is my favorite bet of any team. And maybe I'm going to die in this hill, and maybe I'll delete this podcast when it turns out to be shit in November.
Oh, no.
But the Dolphins plus 450.
Really?
I do just think, one, let me explain. Tyreek Hill is the most impactful wide receiver in the NFL, in my opinion, in terms of just like how opposing defenses have to account for him. And you have 2 of them. You know, like you have not only him, but you have Jalen Waddle, who is also that guy, in my opinion, of you cannot go one-on-one with him against if you have a corner, if you have, Jalen Mills, you're the Patriots, you have a corner that runs 4.6, if there's not a safety over the top, you're not going to be able to guard him one-on-one. They have 2 of those guys, and you have Mike McDaniels as your head coach, who, by all accounts, offensive guru, is going to bring a system to Miami and bring solidarity at the offensive coordinator position after the co-offensive coordinators we saw last year that just ran RPOs all day.
Yeah.
And now Tua's great at RPOs, whatever. Maybe that was because Tua liked him. But I do think it's going to unlock at least something in Tua in terms of he's accurate. If you give him layup throws, he will hit them. More accurate than even Jimmy G is in San Francisco. Like even based off of what they both put on tape last year, I think everyone would still take Tua, and no one thinks Tua is good, but like everyone would still take Tua. And that was playing behind one of the worst offensive lines in the NFL. Now you have Tron Armstead. Now you have Connor Williams. Now you have guys who were, rookies last year, heading into year 2, year 3, year 4, that you've drafted a bunch of guys and hopefully developing them to where I do think this offense is going to be much improved. And the defense side of the ball, you have no worries about. One of the best secondaries in the NFL. So all that put together, it's just like everyone hates Tua. If you had a real quarterback on this team, I don't know, they say they got Matt Stafford over the course of the offseason.
Or even like a publicly viewed like good quarterback.
Yeah.
It doesn't even have to necessarily, like if the public liked this quarterback, this odds would be a lot better.
Exactly. So that's how I feel about it. Obviously the Bills probably still going to win this division, but for plus 450 for a team that outside of the quarterback position, you would probably take the Dolphins roster over the Bills roster. I don't think that's a hot take. Outside of the quarterback position.
I don't know. The receiving core is really talented. Like I think you do lean Miami receivers over Buffalo.
Offensive line's probably a wash at this point with Teron Armstead added to Miami. Defensive side of the ball, the secondaries are
close.
I mean,
it's closer than I thought.
Yeah. So like that one.
And if Jalen Phillips can like take a turn and Emmanuel Ogbah can still be like successful in this defense, I think losing Brian Flores will have an impact on that defense. But I don't know. I guess I'm not betting Dolphins. I'm still fading that, but you're talking me into considering it. I'll take that.
That's my favorite bet. All right, AFC West. Chiefs at plus 175, Chargers at plus 220, Broncos at plus 260, Raiders at plus 650. Who you betting? Who you think wins it?
I like Chargers at plus 220. And I think no one knows who's going to win this division. It's like the most evenly priced division. At, plus 175 is the favorite, which I think is the longest favorite of any division leader right now, according to DraftKings or FanDuel. So Chargers at plus 220, I think is a value. I was there at Chargers camp. There was a lot of hype around this defense. Just signed Derwin James to that contract extension, who they feel is like the lifeblood of the team, let alone the defense. A lot of confidence in Brandon Staley now having more experience as a head coach. Justin Herbert, I was talking to someone on their staff. I don't know. I'll go background here. Justin Herbert likes 3 things.
Anonymous source? Is that what you're doing?
Justin Herbert likes 3 things.
Yeah.
Football, golf, and fishing. And that's it. There's nothing else he wants to do with his life. There's nothing else he wants to do with his time. He does not like media. He does not like social media. He doesn't like anything. He wants to do those 3 things in that order. And I think that's the type of demeanor that Staley like flocks to. Like Staley brings up all the time with Herbert that he is someone that is unfazed. And it goes back to like at Oregon, like what the fuck was going on? Like were they forcing him to do things that he didn't want to? Or like was it just, I don't know, man. Like he is like a completely different player. To me, from what was like prescribed coming out of Oregon, obviously like we were lower on him than a lot of people. A lot of people were lower on him than where he is currently. Like some people are calling him already the best quarterback in the NFL. I think he's the favorite to win the MVP. He is that dude, and I think that offense is going to be really good. Mike Williams, Keenan Allen are still wildly talented. I love that underrated addition of Gerald Everett, who's getting a lot of targets in camp. Josh Palmer should take this step. A lot of people have confidence in him. Then you go to the defense side of the ball. I wrote this piece for the Ringer. look at this front seven, how much it's changed. Like they've added Sebastian Joseph Day and Austin Johnson on the interior, which is going to essentially phase out Jerry Tillery on that defensive line. They had Khalil Mack, who's one of the better run-stuffing defensive ends in the NFL and offers value as a pass rusher. And at linebacker, they lose Kaiser White. He signed with the Philadelphia Eagles this offseason. They bring in Kyle Van Noy, who Kenneth Murray right now, any conversation you have about Kenneth Murray is like, if he's not healthy, he's not playing. And he needs to earn his spot back. It's not like he's healthy again, he's immediately the starter. Like they are probably going to start Kyle Van Noy week 1 unless something insane changes. You have him. I think it's going to be a competition between Drew Tranquill and Troy Reader there as well. But like, I don't know. I think this Chargers defense is going to be wildly improved. It's already one of the top secondaries, one of the top defensive coaches in the NFL, taking the right fourth down chances. I think they win this division. I think they're my favorite bet at plus 1,400 to win the Super Bowl too.
Ooh. So I like that probably more than I like them winning this division. I just think, and if you told me to handicap this before the draft, I would have leaned Chargers heavy. And obviously rookies, you can't expect to make a massive impact, but Chiefs draft was the best draft that I've seen. Yeah, obviously we've talked about
Karlaftis looked good too.
And they've looked good already in this preseason. But what tips the scales for me in the Chiefs' direction? Andy Reid versus Joe Lombardi, offense coordinator.
Yeah.
Who's going to maximize the talent around them? Like obviously the Chargers have the offensive talent. They're probably on par with the Chiefs. Like there really is a toss-up. I believe in Andy Reid to be able to deal with no Tyreek Hill with this kind of mishmashed wide receiver core now that they have to still put up elite numbers offensively. So that's what tips the scales for me. And then obviously on the defense side of the ball, I really like what they've done in rebuilding this defense. So that's the tiebreaker, but it's one of those two in my opinion. I don't think the Broncos should be plus 260. I think that's too low for them. I just don't see them. I can see them making the playoffs, but I don't see them competing for this division.
I don't love the Tim Patrick injury for Denver. I think that's going to force Courtland Sutton or Jerry Jeudy to really step up and be that guy. And all reports are Courtland Sutton is Russell Wilson's guy. And another bet I like in this division, he's over 925.5 receiving yards for Courtland Sutton. That was the line FanDuel placed before the Tim Patrick injury, and it has not changed. Yeah. It screams why betting player props have so much value, because there's such reduced handle being reduced amount of people betting on those things that markets aren't beat into efficiency. You don't see lines move significantly like we have with Eagles from plus 250 to literally plus 160 now because so many people are betting that. Courtland Sutton's not getting bet enough to move that line, but the fact that it was placed at 925 before the Tim Patrick injury and it's staying the same, I think that screams value. And every report out of camp is Sutton is his guy. So he stays healthy. I think he clears that mark as well. Broncos, though, I don't like them to win this division. A lot of newness with Nathaniel Hackett, obviously Russell Wilson. I think that I don't like betting on newness to be top of their division. Yeah. New head coach, new quarterback. Obviously, he's really fucking good. But in the competitive division with the Chiefs and Chargers, I like the stability. I like the Chiefs or Chargers to win it.
I could get on board with the Raiders too at plus 650 if they just had any semblance of an offensive line. If you told me they're going to have an average offensive line, I could sprinkle it plus 650. Mm-hmm. But I just can't, same as last year where we were saying you can't be consistent week to week with as bad an offensive line as that is. Mm-hmm. And so even with all this weapons, you're not going to be consistent week to week.
It's a bottom 5 offensive line right now. Borderline bottom 3. And they were not expecting Denzel Good, their projected starting guard, to retire. Yeah. And Richie Incognito, they were expecting to retire, but they lose both those guys. Their interior offensive line, their offensive line outside of Colton Miller is going to be Lester Cotton, which I think a lot of people listening to this podcast don't even know who that is. Andre James, another guy that started last year, was okay, but still not a known commodity by any means. Right guard is probably going to be Jermaine Illuminar, who is a journeyman in the NFL and still not a solid piece. And then right tackle, it's going to be Alex Leatherwood, who was running with the threes last week. Playing deep into the fourth quarter. I worry about that offensive line. And in terms of a team, a non-quarterback injury really affecting how this team goes. If Colton Miller gets hurt, this offensive line is absolutely an absolute shambles. And I worry that they're just too flawed. And that doesn't even bring up how bad their defense is. Their defense is one of the worst in the NFL, and they didn't get that much better in the secondary. Now, they added Chandler Jones, and I think that's going to help, and it's an upgrade over Unique Ngakoue. But the secondary and their linebacking core is still not top-notch by any means. I worry about those flaws.
All right, AFC South, a division I feel is just mispriced, but we shall see. Colts at minus 135, Titans at plus 170, Jags at plus 800, and the Texans at plus 3,000. Where are you putting your money? Who do you think is going to win?
I'm putting my money on literally any team but the Colts at minus 135. I did not like Matt Ryan's debut, and I don't want to overreact to preseason week 1, but I did not like how his arm looked. I did not like how the offense looked. There's also like newness in terms of like a new head coach there and all that stuff. Like, I think that it's going to be a lot of change. And a lot of change to me does not scream minus 135 to win a division that the Titans won last year. Like, Titans were the one seed in the AFC. And like, they're obviously not bringing back AJ Brown. And there's some other concerns, defensively. But like, this Titans team at plus 170, I think is a great bet. Even the Jags at plus 800, who now have an adult head coach in Doug Peterson, I think is a good bet. And I don't even hate dropping $1 on plus 3,000 for the Texans to win this division.
I hate dropping $1. I got better things I can do with that dollar.
I don't know, man. I just don't think the Colts should be the favorite. Now, if it was different and maybe priced similar to the AFC West, where like say Colts were plus 175 and the Titans were plus 220, I think getting on the Colts becomes more palpable. But I'm just not touching the Colts at minus money right now.
Yeah, I don't understand the Titans, at plus 170. Like, this defense could be top 5 defense in the NFL. Like, they have Christian Fulton has looked excellent in camp. The secondary, Caleb Farley is back, and now obviously don't know where you're going to get with him. That could be a wild card there, but he could also be good. And this front seven is going to be Bud Dupree, 1 year out of the ACL tear, 1 year after the ACL tear, should at least be better than what we saw last year. Yeah. So a lot of reason to be excited about the defense. Yes, the offensive side of the ball, not going to have any receivers. You're not really going to have weapons. Robert Woods obviously coming back from an ACL. Traylon Burks, rookie, playing in the fourth quarter in his first preseason game. Never a great sign for a first-round pick. There are issues there, but again, they play without A.J. Brown, Julio Jones for good portions of last season and got by. So
I think
I'm not sure. I feel great about them. I'm still picking them to win the division. I love the bet at plus 170. I'm not like, oh yeah, Titans are definitely winning this division. Mm-hmm. But with those odds, I feel like it's about a 50-50 proposition, not a minus 135, plus 170.
I agree. I think if they're say they were both priced at plus 100, I take the Colts. At plus 170, minus 135, I'm taking the Titans all day long. And like, even if it was at plus 100 apiece, it's kind of splitting hairs. And I think the reason public money is on Indianapolis is that Carson Wentz was absolute garbage last year. And they feel that Matt Ryan is an upgrade. And they have really talented players. Jonathan Taylor, Shaquille Leonard, not Darius Leonard. They brought in Stephon Gilmore. They have DeForest Buckner, one of the better defensive tackles in the NFL. Quentin Nelson at guard. But all time and time again, we've brought up that their talented players are at low-value positions. Inside off-ball linebacker, running back, interior offensive line. That's where I feel the public is maybe higher on them because they do have talent. I just don't think they have talent in these premier spots. And I worry about the receiving core. Alec Pierce is going to be that number 2 in this offense. I don't think he's ready for that. Malcolm Pittman Jr. bet his overs because I think he's going to be the obvious number 1. And Paris Campbell is getting training camp hype again after being just falling below expectations every year of his career. I don't see it finally coming together with Matt Ryan this year either.
Yeah, and I mean, Shaq Leonard, back surgery is not what you want for an undersized linebacker. That's not all of a sudden he's going to, he's definitely going to be back and to 100% top 3 linebacker in the NFL for him. Like, that is not something to just sweep under the rug. So that also pushes me towards the Titans. Last division here, AFC North, very evenly priced division. Ravens at plus 150, Bengals at plus 180, Browns at plus 330, and the Steelers at plus 1,000. Where are you going?
So, I mean, you have to address the elephant in the room here that the Cleveland Browns are in this division and they have quarterback Deshaun Watson, who's currently at the floor, taking a 6-game suspension. But Dan Graziano, I think, tweeted out today that a decision on if they'll go through with that 6-game suspension or the appeal will lead to an extended suspension and fine, I think it's supposed to come today or tomorrow.
So we're recording a week early here. So it'll probably be out by then.
The thing to guarantee is that whatever this appeal process is, it's it. Like Kevin Clark did some excellent reporting on the Ringer, and that
it'll be more. The
NFL, whatever they say goes. Like, they have clauses in the CBA that say like our decision is final. You can't appeal our decision, all that stuff. So if it's, I think it's going to be more, at least 8. Yeah. And if not like 12, I think they were pushing for an indefinite suspension and like a significant fine, but I think it's going to be 8 or 12. And that is enough for me to like stay the fuck away from the Cleveland Browns at plus 330. The other piece of it, I don't want to be rooting for the Cleveland Browns all year. Partly because I don't want to be watching Jacoby Brissett play football, and I don't want to watch Deshaun Watson play football that much and actually root for him. This one is tough, and I know we're in sunny Cincinnati. I still like the Ravens to win this division at plus 150. I like that they're getting faded after having easily the most injured roster in the NFL last year. You should see some positive regression in injury luck this year. And a really experienced football team that has a lot of talent when fully healthy. Dobbins, Gus Edwards, Marcus Peters, Lamar Jackson, obviously. The offensive line is one of the top offensive lines. I think that the Ravens are the rightful favorite. Splitting hairs at plus 150 versus plus 180, I do think that they win it.
Yeah, I go back and forth on this one, man. I really do. I do think they're on pretty even footing, the Ravens and the Bengals, which means like they're on even footing, then I'll lean the Bengals at plus 180 because they have longer odds to win. So that's where I'd go with my bet. But really, it's a toss-up between those two.
The Achilles heel, I think, for the Baltimore Ravens is their receiving core. They are banking on Rashad Bateman in his second season being the number one in the offense, which I think he can be. I think a lot of people were excited about him coming out of Minnesota, and all reports out of camp is that he's like that dude. But after that, it's 2020 third round pick and 2020 sixth round pick, Devin Duvernay and James Prochet. And then you have Tylan Wallace, who's a fourth round pick from a year ago. Too many young players having to be big name receivers in this offense. You obviously still have Mark Andrews, which will always be his security blanket, but that receiving core is not a deep playoff competitive receiving core. It's going to be an offense that I think is going to be really dependent on the run game working, and that involves the health of Dobbins and Edwards in this offensive line.
And that's the other reason why I lean the Bengals, is because I think this offense can get to a level that the Ravens just can't get to because the talent they have at their
Oh, yeah.
Like they could, with Joe Burrow, with those wide receivers, get to that, like, doesn't matter what the deficit is, we can come back in the blink of an eye. I don't think the Ravens have that in them. So that's why.
How talented is this Ravens team, man? Like, they have in the secondary Marcus Peters.
Oh, the defenses.
Yeah. Marcus Peters, Marcus Williams, who they signed this offseason, Marlon Humphrey. I didn't realize they picked up Kyle Fuller, who I think is no slouch, is like your cornerback 3 or 4. Yeah. Drafted Kyle Hamilton in the first round, who has looked slow out of the gate. Still have.
Don't say it. He looked good in the first preseason game.
Still have Tony Jefferson there. Have Justin Houston on this defense. Odafe Owe, Calais Campbell, Michael Pierce, Travis Jones in the third round. They're a really talented team, man. And I think they're deep. They're a really deep football team. And if they stay healthy, like I do think that they win this one.
All right, Super Bowl predictions. Who you got going and who you got winning?
So is this best bet, or who do I have going?
Who do you think?
Yeah, I think it's hard when you're not looking at betting odds to go away from Bills Bucks. I think the Bucks are going to the Super Bowl.
Okay.
Now I think it'll be between Bills and Chiefs to get there in the AFC, and I think it's the Bills here. I think the Bills do go. I think the favorites go, which is obviously like pretty cliche to say, but I think the favorites do go to the Super Bowl. Not cliche, just like chalky as fuck.
Mm-hmm.
But I think the Bills win. I think the Bills win the Super Bowl this year. I am all in on that. I'm all in on the Buffalo Bills.
All right, I'm going to go Packers because I think that defense finally, I think by the playoffs, Rodgers will have figured out kind of how to move the ball with whatever receivers he's working with.
Yeah.
And that defense is just the most talented defense he's had since they won the Super Bowl. So I'm going to go Packers in the NFC, and then I'm going to go Bills in the AFC as well.
Damn, you're going Packers in the AFC? You're such a homer, dude.
Well, this is their year. Best defense. All right, let's do some award picks, and then we'll get out of here. MVP award. Where are you going?
I mean, if I'm picking the Bills to win the Super Bowl, I like Josh Allen as that pick. I think the bet I'm making is Justin Herbert. I think Justin Herbert is someone I think is going to receive a lot of fucking votes if they win 11, 12 games. But I think the rightful favorite is Josh Allen.
I am going Joey B.
Really?
I mean, it is still a statistics award.
Yeah.
No one's taking into account the fact that he has the best receiving core in the NFL.
Yeah.
Like, people give it shit at the end of the year based off of what numbers he put up. He's got the best receiving core in the NFL, and he has a real offensive line now. So all that's going to add up to. And the other thing is, people don't really give a shit about rushing totals. When you're comparing, it's going to be passing yards,
that's true,
passing touchdowns. Josh Allen's probably going to have 5-6 more rushing touchdowns. He's probably going to have a few hundred more rushing yards, but it's not going to matter. That's not really going to get in the MVP conversation. So I'm going to lean Joe Burrow. Oh boy, Offensive Player of the Year.
This one's tough. I think that Jonathan Taylor could very well be it. He's the favorite right now on FanDuel.
Frank Reich doesn't want him to lead the league in touches, though.
Come on, Frank Reich. I think Justin Jefferson is who I take, though. I think Justin Jefferson is going to be the Offensive Player of the Year. Plus 1,400, I think that's a good bet. He's the favorite to lead the NFL in receiving yards. And Adam Thielen's getting like some sex appeal out of camp. I think Arif Hassan, who's been reporting on the Minnesota Vikings for a while for The Athletic, has said like Adam Thielen looks like back in his prime. But I don't think that's enough to overtake the production Jefferson's going to have, especially with Kevin O'Connell there now leading the offense.
I do think, like, if anyone would fill the Cooper Kupp role, and a lot's been made of the Cooper Kupp role, like, Thielen could do that. Like, he can do those. He's still underneath intermediate, shifty route runner. Like Jefferson, limiting him to that route tree that Cooper Kupp ran is almost doing him a disservice.
Yeah.
Because he is so gifted, just like down the field and what he can do. But I am leaning Justin Jefferson. I hate that we went the same one with this, but I do just think that they're going to have to pass a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And it's an offense that's going to just look different structurally. And that's going to feed from obviously what they've done in the past. And that's going to feed him the football. So defensive player of the year, where are you leaning?
I think this is really mispriced. I don't like the favorites in Myles Garrett and TJ Watt. And we've been on podcasts before where we talk about it's like who has the most sacks at the end of the year. That's who they give defensive player of the year to. But I do think that they also value like playoff competitiveness, right? Like even like Khalil Mack won defensive player of the year for the Raiders the one year that they went to the playoffs in 2016. And like he was really disruptive. But you think about Garrett on the Browns, Watt on the Steelers, I think two teams that could very well miss the playoffs next year. Aaron Donald, I don't think gets it because of voter fatigue. Micah Parsons, maybe, but I don't think the Dallas Cowboys are going to be a top of the NFC type of team. I could be proven wrong there. But I think the two bets I'd make, Micah Parsons at plus 1,000, because I think everyone and their mother loves Micah Parsons, wants to claim him to be the next Lawrence Taylor. And then Joey Bosa at plus 2,500, opposite of Khalil Mack, and an improved defense on a team that everyone and their mother is just going to be jerking next year. Like, so many people want to like the Chargers. So many people want to like Brandon Staley. They love that they go for on fourth downs. They love Justin Herbert and all that shit. Like, I think Joey Bosa at plus 2,500 is mispriced. Yeah,
Bosa is the one I lean to, Joey. And the one thing the reason why is because the tackles in the AFC West. And assuming he gets to stay on the left side, which is where he's rushed in the past, and obviously they added Khalil Mack, who rushed on the left side a lot in Chicago, but it's like Joey's kind of the guy you got to appease, and you would think he'd want to go up against right tackles, but he's not had that guy the past couple of years since Melvin Ingram left to really take the pressure off, in obvious pass situations. Now he does, and he's going up against Billy Turner, Andrew Wiley, and Alex Leatherwood as right tackle in the AFC West 6 times. 6 games against those guys is a lot of sacks. So, and all those games will be like primetime games, big stages where he gets sacks in those games. It's going to get remembered. So, yeah.
And not only is Khalil Mack added, and I think there's been a lot of like stories written on, they have complementary pass rushing styles, and it's going to help Joey so much. The other piece of it too is that the interior defensive line is better too. Like they have talent in Austin Johnson and Sebastian Joseph Day.
Jerry Tillery in year 4.
Dude, I'll tell you after the pod. I have some Jerry Tillery stuff too.
God damn it. It's never good.
It's never good.
It's never like, oh, Jerry Tillery looks fucking sick in practice.
I'll tell you after. It's fucking
Jerry Tillery like left practice to go to his other job. All right, offensive rookie of the year. Who are you going?
This one I think is also mispriced. Like I don't even think Kenny Pickett starts. Like I think right now on Bet Online, Mitch Trubisky is minus 1,000 to start, and Pickett just recently got elevated from the 3s to the 2s. But there's a good chance Pickett doesn't even play this year, let alone like until like maybe week 6, week 8. So the fact that he's the favorite, I think, is stupid. At plus 900 on FanDuel, I think it's mispriced on DraftKings as well. I really like Drake London. I think he's going to be a big production whore this year.
Okay.
I don't know if I like that, but I don't like Chris Olave because you have Michael Thomas there. George Pickens, I still think that Deontay Johnson, Chase Claypool, others are going to get play. But Drake London, I think, is the guy, like going to be the guy for the Falcons. Obviously, Kyle Pitts there as well. I think he's a good bet at plus 1,200. I wouldn't take Sky Moore, the Chiefs receiver, at plus 1,200. He's not even like running with the ones right now. McCole Hardman did just get carted off with a groin injury today. Does that open up opportunity for him? Maybe. But I think Drake London is the best bet and the guy to be taken right now.
Yeah, some of these odds are really all over the map.
Romeo Doubs at plus 1,600 too. The fact that like Rodgers and you have AJ, like there's people talking about him like he's going to be the guy in Green Bay. And he's obviously looked really good.
The guy I'm going though, he's the favorite, but he's the favorite because he's going to get a ton of touches because he's very good. And because he's running behind now what should be a solid offensive line, even after Mekhi Becton got hurt. And it's pretty tall. The guy I don't see anyone else on this list that I know is going to get either high target share. Like I feel like Drake London's the other one that like is going to get high target share.
Yeah.
But he's in an offense that might be ass. Maybe one of the worst offenses.
Might be, I think, is an understatement. It's going to suck. So I just think he can put up like 1,200.
Yeah. So like that is the only other guy that I would probably bet are those two. But Brees is just like, I feel very strongly about him getting those touches. Then you're in New York. Like you're going to get no shortage of media coverage where he's at. So that's who I'm going. Offensive rookie of the year, plus 850. Defensive rookie of the year, where are you leaning?
Man, it's plus 850 on DraftKings. I've been using FanDuel more because the Ringer is like big on FanDuel and has like some spot, but like it's plus 1,200 on FanDuel.
I probably should be using BetMGM, but you can't even like pull up the BetMGM like odds here.
That's crazy how different the odds are.
Yeah.
Like plus 1,200 versus plus 850 is like significant as hell. On FanDuel for defensive rookie of the year, the favorite is Kayvon Thibodeau at plus 550, which I think is also mispriced. Oof. That's like insane. I don't think that's going to be a thing.
He's the favorite.
He's the favorite. Aiden Hutchinson is number 2 at plus 600, which I think he ultimately does win it. I think he's going to be a tackle for loss monster. I think he's going to rack up sacks on that defense. However, I think the best bet, you might like this, Quay Walker at plus 1,500. That defensive line is going to be nasty. And I think that defense overall is just going to like rack up, like give him opportunities to rack up tackles. And if he has like 120 tackles next year, it's him in a nutshell. I think there could be so much competition at edge that maybe like he ultimately is like quote unquote like the most productive one.
Yeah, it's like you have a guy who you know is going to be filling a big role, knows going to be on a defense that's going to be good, that like, you know, going to get a playoff team that's going to get talked about. But I can't really go anywhere other than Aiden Hutchinson.
Yeah.
I mean, I watched his first preseason game. He did the same thing to Jake Matthews that he was doing college tackles. It's like,
it's crazy.
He looked good, you know? I
was talking to someone recently about, I was on the Ringer NFL show with Jason Goff, and I was like, what you look for in the preseason, oftentimes with rookies, is one, size and speed. Do they still look fast and big? Yeah. And the other thing is, do they look like they're playing the same as they did before? Yeah. And like Aiden Hutchinson, 11 snaps in his preseason debut. It's like, holy shit. Is he still in a Michigan jersey? It looks exactly the same. Disruptive and constant. And that, I do think he will win it. I think the best bet's plus 1,500. And again, it goes back, there's so much value on some of these props that aren't like win total playoff based. Quay Walker has the same odds to win defensive rookie of the year as Nakobe Dean. Quay Walker is the guaranteed starter in Green Bay, and Nakobe Dean's running with the 2s.
Yeah.
Like there is value there. There's value in, you know, how these things are currently priced.
What did you think of Aiden Hutchinson's weird Michael Jackson stuff on Hard Knocks? Did he do that dance for you when you guys were hanging out? He didn't do that
dance for me, but I do know that like he was a dancer as a kid. Which is
interesting because from like he got knocked for just looking weird as fuck as like moving on a football field, right? Like he just doesn't take, you know, a trained scouting eye to say that guy like looks weird when he fucking runs and like changes direction. Like it doesn't look fluid.
Yeah.
But it's quick.
It looks stiffer. It looks stiffer than it is. Yeah.
It does not look like a guy with a dancing background, but there you have it. All right. Coach of the year. Who are you going for, Coach of the year?
So this is a market that I think is really gross to bet. Like there's the favorite on FanDuel is Brandon Staley at plus 1,400. Like you're getting a lot of like long odds on like who's going to win this one. I don't think that I like Brian Dable at all. He's another rumored favorite. I think Dan Campbell has way too much public money. I don't think they're going to win enough games for that. I would go between Staley and Kevin O'Connell. The other long shot.
I thought you were going to say Cliff Kingsbury.
No. The other long shot would be maybe Mike McDaniel if the Dolphins exceed expectations. But I think Kevin O'Connell would be the bet I'd make at plus 1,600. I think he's going to be awesome in his first year and versus expectations. If they do win that division, I think he wins it no problem.
Okay. Yeah, I do like Kevin O'Connell in terms of, like, I think the Vikings will exceed expectations. And at that point, that's basically what the award is how much did you exceed expectations? But that's why I like Mike McDaniel. Because I do think the Dolphins are kind of my pick to that. I think people are undervaluing what that roster is. And obviously a lot of it relies on Tua, but I think Mike McDaniel and his offense can assuage some of that. Is that how you pronounce that word?
Assuage? What the fuck is that?
I don't know. That's a word.
Assuage?
A-S-S-A-U-G.
Oh, I see. I don't know how to pronounce it. Let's hear it.
Assuage.
There we go. I've only read it. I've not actually heard someone say it.
This brings us back to that moment on the pod where, what was the word? Yeah, dissect. Then I played it and it's dissect.
No,
anyway,
it's dissect still.
I know what it is.
All right, comeback player of the year. We'll do the last one here. I hadn't written it down originally, but who you got for comeback player of the year?
Comeback player of the year. Let me look at the pricing. Derrick Henry, the favorite, plus 400, which I don't understand. He still rushed over 1,000 yards last year and played in 8 games. I don't. Normally it's more.
He played in the playoffs too.
Like Christian McCaffrey at plus 800. Like Christian McCaffrey's not coming back from last year. He's coming back from the last 2 years. Yeah. So I think there could be more voter weight behind a McCaffrey than a Henry because it's like been longer. And then the other player I like is Michael Thomas. Like Michael Thomas catches like 1,200, 1,300 yards next year, which I think he could. I think that's another guy too. So McCaffrey or Thomas is probably who I bet.
That's who I like. Michael Thomas at plus 800. He's still going to be the number one option. They're still going to be a good offense, I believe.
Chase Young is on FanDuel at plus 1,400. There is no shot in hell they're going to. Like, he's too young of a player.
No, here's the craziest one. Who the fuck's betting Deshaun Watson plus 2,000?
Oh my God, wait. They have it plus 2,000 on DraftKings?
Yeah.
He's not even on fan.
Who would ever vote for him?
Oh my
this
God.
is still a voted award. It's not like
That's absolute malpractice. He's not even on. Like, you can't even bet him on comeback player of the year. I thought Chase Young was a bad bet. If you're betting Deshaun Watson at plus 2,000, you need help.
Yeah.
You need help. Someone needs to talk to you. What percentage of the handle on that bet is Cleveland? And like, just guys like trying to find reason to get on it. There's no way. The NFL would veto it. It would be like an inside job.
Yeah.
Like, say like he did win it, like the Associated Press voted him to do it. It would be an inside job to block it. I honestly think it would be an inside job.
Yeah. It's not happening. All right. It was great having you back on, buddy. We'll have to get you on sometime again this season. We still have to watch American Underdog Story with Kurt Warner. We'll do a movie review next time you're back on. But
I'm down, dude. I think that I'm excited that you have this new podcast, man. I've been missing, I've had so many people reach out. I'm like, I missed Tailgate. Even some of our friends were like, dude, where the hell's this podcast? And I think this podcast is going to be sick. The fact that you are going to have like your own like, interview focused show. And I was telling you, it's like every week that you don't get a bigger high profile guest like a Dan Orlovsky or some of your favorites, I think I'm happy to come on. I'd love to make this more of a routine thing.
Yeah, we'll get you back on. You got anything in the pipe coming up to look out for?
Working on some non-football stuff that I can't like detail yet, but it is cool. Like, there's some cool stuff coming down on the Ringer. This season I'll be on
cool. I hope you're not just like doing dumb shit.
On the Ringer this season, I'll be on the Ringer Gambling Show, which you can get on Spotify or wherever you get your podcasts. Like, I think 2 or 3 times a week, and Ringer NFL Show once a week, doing some stuff. I'm writing a lot. Follow me on Twitter. No longer at PFF_Austin Gayle. It's Austin Gayle _ RIP.
I went to, so a little quick story about that. One, you lost your blue check when you
I
changed
know.
it.
So if you switch your handle, you lose your blue check.
Yeah, you got a DM verified prior to that.
Mm-hmm.
2, when you did that, I'm like, oh, maybe I should like squat on one just in case I ever leave PFF. Like, all the Mike Renner shit's gone. So I had to get Mike Renner _. I had to get the exact same format as you because all the other ones are gone. So
you have it just in case like PFF fires you again.
Yes, in case I get another firing, which I got a story about that I can tell you after the podcast.
Okay, I'm excited.
But
so this podcast is coming out the same day as Neil's retirement party here at the office. If we get that Peter King picture, that is going to be, because there is like, so the office here has a urinal like lineup. Like, we could get it. Like, it's not like we have to go to like a restaurant or anything.
Yeah.
We could get it.
We'll get it with Neil. Like, we can convince Neil to do it.
Yeah,
we'll definitely do it.
Yeah. And like, maybe we'll have our pants up or something.
No, we do it. Literally, take a picture of Neil doing it.
No, I know, but I don't know if we want to.
Well, we don't have him holding his actual dick.
I know, but he did in the Peter King picture.
I know, he did in the Peter King
I'm just
picture.
saying, like, we'll have our pants up and we'll do it, and like, you'll be
Next
on the
to
far
it.
left, and I'll be Peter King or something. Or if Peter King's interested, we'll do it.
So
It's gonna be hard to
someone
convince
takes a
Peter King
picture
to do
of
it.
us
Yeah.
next to Neil.
That's perfect. That's absolutely perfect. I'm excited for that.
Sounds good. Brought me back. Austin, what a guy. And after the pod, I actually figured out here what I want to do with the American Underdog Story and what we're going to do going forward. We are going to have a Talkin' Ball movie club. You've probably heard of book clubs, where I got invited to 2 book clubs actually this summer, and I declined both because I don't read books. I don't know how people have time to read books, honestly. The last time I read a fiction book was probably Harry Potter. No, it was maybe one of the Dan Brown books. Maybe
Harry Potter slaps though.
Harry Potter is good, but like, who has time? I don't know, but we have time for a movie club. So the American Underdog Story, we're going to do, I think I decided on 2 weeks. Quinn, do you think that's enough time to get everyone every 2 weeks of the season to have a new movie? Do you think that's enough time to get people to watch?
Yeah, I think it depends on the movie. Like, American Underdog's been out for a while.
Yeah.
If it's a movie that's like in theaters or like just dropped on HBO Max and you got to like pay money and stuff to get it, maybe not. But like, I feel like American Underdog's pretty accessible everywhere.
No,
so 2 weeks is fine.
It's going to be all football movies. So they're all going to be streaming more than likely. None of them going to be in theater. So American Underdog, every Talkin' Ball listener, you are now a Talkin' Ball Movie Club member. And we're going to watch American Underdog at some point during these 2 weeks, and we're going to have a discussion. I'm going to want your reviews in the DMs of the PFF_Talkin' Ball podcast. Give me a PFF rating of what you think of it and a little brief review. We'll read some of them. We'll talk about American Underdog. Maybe we'll get Austin Gayle back on to give his takes on it. But yeah, movie club, watch American Underdog within the next 2 weeks. That's, I guess, week 1 of the season, September 8th, will be when we do the full American Underdog review. And then after week 2, after week 4, 6, so on, that will be the movie club. So join the PFF Talkin' Ball Movie Club. And also, we're going to have Monday mailbags. So get involved in that if you would like your questions answered on the show. Obviously, if you're a Tailgate listener, we had That was one of our favorite shows every week that we did that. So we're going to be doing a big mailbag segment on Mondays. Make sure you send those DMs to the PFF_Talking Ball Twitter account on Sundays, though. Sundays only, because I don't want to be reading, scrolling throughout the week and having to save these. So I will look at any DM sent to the Twitter account on Sundays, preferably afternoon, like towards the nighttime, because that's when I'm going to be prepping for the Monday show. So please send any mailbag questions to PFF Talking Ball. I already got some from one of my friends. He actually just sent me a text today asking to get that. So we'll get to that on the Monday show. But let's get into some segments now. First off, we have the PVOO segment, positive vibes only online, and some backstory to this. Now, one of my, I set like a goal for myself every season and how I'm going to improve, what I want to do to be, better at this job, make better content. And one of my goals my one goal this year is to be more positive online. And that comes with, not tweeting out, this guy sucks, even if a guy does suck, not responding to trolls and dunking on them, not responding to bad takes that I see online and trying to correct people. Because growing up in the household I grew up in with two older brothers, it was, and my father as well, it was a free-for-all in terms of like correcting each other. You had like being right was a sport in my household, whether it was correct grammar or just takes on literally anything. It was who could call out the other for being right. And that has translated over to my professional life. And I have a problem with that on Twitter where I see something that's wrong, I have to say it. And my mom does too. My mom literally, I'm not going to tweet out her Twitter account, but she is one of those people who's just online telling people they're wrong all day. It's the way it is. Was the way it was in my household. So I'm trying not to do that online, but I'm only human and I have to outlet my frustration and that part of me somewhere. So that's why I have this podcast, to call out the egregious takes that I've seen online. And this one, the first one I'm going to start off with is probably my favorite because it's just so egregiously wrong. And this one's from Brian Baldinger, Baldy NFL. Does fantastic work. This is not a shot at Brian Baldinger at all. It's a very easy kind of trap to fall into as an analyst. Here's the tweet. He says, "Hey, NFL, you can't go wrong drafting any player from Georgia football. Mr. Kirby Smart can recruit, and he can coach him up with the very best." And at NFL Draft, #Baldy's Breakdowns. Now, Georgia did just have, 5 first-rounders. I mean, this is not a shot at Georgia by any means. But anyone who is a listener of Tailgate Podcast knows our infatuation with Isaiah Wilson, that the single biggest draft bust of the past decade, I mean, maybe like up there all time with just in terms of like not getting anything from a first round pick, was Isaiah Wilson.
That's not true. We got a rap album.
Georgia. We got some good, we got great content out of it.
Got some fire.
It really, we got a lot more content out of him than your average run-of-the-mill first round pick. So yes, it was a fire rap album too. But I'm sure John Robinson doesn't believe that you can't go wrong drafting a Georgia player. And also, I'm sure Dave Gettleman doesn't think you can't go wrong drafting a Georgia player, because the other single biggest draft bust over the past decade that was first rounder was DeAndre Baker. One season with the New York Giants. One season out of Georgia he made with his NFL team. So saying that, yeah, you're going to get fucking gassed up from every Georgia football account. Dog Nation is going to be retweeting you left and right. It got 833 likes, 196 retweets. People fucking jerking it to this tweet. But it's just one of those, you could say whatever the fuck you want and not get called on it. It's literally factually incorrect. So didn't reply to it, but this is my reply to it. Just those kind of tweets, we don't have to do that. We don't have to be dishonest.
I will say in Baldy's defense, though, like when you put out as many dudes in the NFL as Georgia does, like you're putting yourself for a higher rate, right? Like Ohio State, yes. Same thing too. Like they just churn out like 10 dudes a year, and it's like eventually one of these guys is going to bust, as opposed to like, how many Coastal Carolina players are in the NFL. You know what I'm saying? Like it's just, so you are kind of, I do see what he's saying, but yeah, you're like Georgia does have some guys that have maybe not panned out the best. It's
also why we rail against school scouting here, though. It's like everyone's an individual. They get some semblance of like how they're coached. Like you can expect Georgia D linemen to play the run well. you know, like to have good technique in that regard. And there's some of that to it, but like these guys are still individuals. Isaiah Wilson, like, didn't matter what school he came from.
He's as individual,
you know,
as
like
he
exactly.
did whatever the fuck he wants.
Exactly. So like that, there's that's why we, like in the scouting community, like you cannot look at the name on the back of the jersey, and that's only promoting that line of thinking that, hey, this guy's coming from that well-coached defense. He's going to be XYZ in the NFL. I just push back on that line of thinking. All right. Next one's also just hot. This one comes from Jordan Schultz at Schultz_report on Twitter. I'm not sure his exact affiliation at the moment. I know he used to be with ESPN. Now he's just an NFL insider with, I guess, the Game Day NFL and the Pull-Up Pod with CJ McCollum. But he tweeted this after Kenny Pickett's first game, after one preseason game where he played only in the fourth quarter, and his average depth of completion was 3.3 yards down the football field. He said, and the haters said Kenny Pickett's hands were too small. This is why your number one evaluating tool should be actual football. How does the guy play when it matters? Pickett is a baller. #Steelers. I love this tweet also because he literally calls his own self out in it. He said, how does the guy play when it matters? Like talking about a week one preseason fourth quarter game. When it matters. Is that when it matters, Jordan? I mean, I am very impressed with what I've seen from Kenny Pickett. Not even gonna lie, like in week 2 was honestly more impressive than what he did in week 1, in my opinion. But that is not the time to take a victory lap. You're just begging to get put on Old Takes Exposed for stuff like that. It is, and he rightfully, by every non-Steelers homer, by every non-Andrew Filipponi in the replies, was saying it's the fourth quarter preseason game 1. So it was fourth quarter preseason game 1, Jordan. All right, last one here. And then we'll get to It's Acho time. Michael Robinson, former NFL fullback, I believe, with the Seahawks, was it? Well, he's on NFL Network now. His bio is on Twitter is an absolute mess. It is the most poorly formatted bio that I've ever seen. It says a lot of stuff. But he ranked his top 10 undrafted players heading into the 2020 season. Top 10 players who were UDFAs. 1, J.C. Jackson. 2, the cornerback of the Chargers. 2, Kenny Moore, cornerback for the Colts. 3, Justin Tucker, kicker for the Ravens. You know, fairly chalky, the great players. And then at number 4, he goes Cameron Brate, tight end for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Behind Cameron Brate, he has Adam Thielen, Austin Eckler, Shaquille Barrett. 3 guys who, Shaquille Barrett led the league in sacks back in 2019.
Almost a Bengal.
Almost a Bengal. And it's not like
kind of Bengal.
Not like fallen off by any means in terms of on-field performance since then, just hasn't had the sack totals. Thielen has kind of fallen off. Like that one, not the craziest take in the world. But like Cameron Brate's also fallen off. Cameron Brate's 31 years old. He had 245 receiving yards last year. He hasn't had over 500 receiving yards in a year since 2017. So like, I don't care how much you think Thielen's fallen off. That's egregious. And then Austin Eckler is like a top 10 running back in the NFL at worst. I mean, he's incredibly talented, a top 5 two-way back in terms of receiving and rushing ability. To put him behind Cameron Brate is a crime of evaluation purposes for my, like, in my avenue of life. That's criminal. If you did that in the scouting world, that's fireable offense. And then he left off Lyle Collins altogether. Now, an odd situation, like not a UDFA in terms of like pre-draft evaluation, but he was a UDFA. Lyle Collins did not get drafted, but he's a top 5 right tackle in the NFL. Definitely a player you'd rather have than Cameron Brate right now. That I think any other team in the NFL would rather have than Cameron Brate. So, Michael Robinson, we need to do better in the evaluation world. That can't pass. We can't have these takes pass for like content. It's disheartening.
So I have a theory for this. I think that this could potentially be an error because I'll throw it up on the screen right now. It's a graphic, in his tweet, right? So you can see JC Jackson there and everything. And Cameron Brate's at 4. It's totally possible that whoever made this graphic just like misplay, you know what I'm saying? Like if Michael Robinson was just tweeting it out like 1, 2, 3, 4, right? Like it would be his list. This could have been a case of like, oh, I fucked up the graphic, because as somebody who makes graphics, I've been there.
Let's see.
So, you know what I mean? Like maybe he tweets it out and didn't look at it. And now it's like, oh shit, it's been up for 20 minutes and I'm getting real. Like, I got to just ride this out. It's very possible. That's my conspiracy
So
theory.
it does actually say on the graphic, read the full breakdown at NFL.com/Robinson. This is the first article he's ever written for NFL.com. There's only one article that he's written for NFL.com, and it's actually accurate. He has Cameron Brate at 4.
And there you go.
In this
Sorry,
article.
graphics guy.
Maybe
I should read. Maybe I should join your book club.
It's real. And this might be the last article he writes for NFL.com. Who knows? All right. It's Acho time. I get that a lot of these are like people that live online, but that's kind of my job. So I'm trying to like give you guys the best parts of living online and not all the other shit that I sift through. But this harkens back to what we talked about off the top, the Kayvon Thibodeau injury. And obviously feel terrible for him. He'll be back though. Only an MCL. Yikes. Bad Freudian slip there. Only an MCL. Should be back in like 4 weeks. Should be back at some point during the regular season. So he will still get that rookie year 2 eval. But he tweeted out of the play, "This is ridiculous, dangerous, and cowardly. Straight cowardly." He repeated it. He really thought it was cowardly. Prayers up for Kayvon Thibodeau. And then he just got taken to the woodshed by pretty much every other player that's played in the NFL, especially like offensive line Twitter, which is like one of my favorite Twitters. And basically just said, how are you? You played in the league. Like, this is legal. Like, that's happened to you probably. And caved. 14 hours later, though, he replies to his own tweet that, again, said ridiculous, dangerous, and cowardly. And he said, when used correctly, Twitter is one big family group chat. When used incorrectly, it is a cesspool of hate and toxicity. Shout out to all my NFL bros and the fans that are engaging in respectful dialogue around this play. Buddy, you were engaging in disrespectful dialogue. You called Thaddeus Moss literally executing his job cowardly and dangerous and ridiculous. And then my other favorite is this follow-up to Damian Woody. He said, "I agree with you, big bro. It's not dirty. Not a dirty play," which is why I didn't use that word. Words matter. It is currently legal, though I doubt for much longer. He described dirty. He went around using the word dirty. He said, again, ridiculous, dangerous, and cowardly, which to anyone with English as their first language would probably call that like synonymous with dirty. He's calling it dirty. In everyone's head, that's conjuring up that thought. Yet, Acho didn't use the word, so don't get on him. Do not get on Acho. And yeah, that's become such an occurrence with him. And now I don't think he's like ill mannered or like he wishes no ill will. He just like he can't tie himself down to an opinion or a take. He plays both sides so often that it makes for great content. And he's going to fuel a good segment on the show. I can feel it. All right. Next up is the Would You Rather. We're going to do every week. We're going to do Would You Rather. And again, stole this. Shout out Matthew Collar, Purple Insider. He's writing a book actually about the history of PFF, which he interviewed me for. That is going to be electric. Trust me, there are some stories that are going to come out from this. We've told some on the Tailgate podcast, but we haven't even that's tip of the iceberg for some of the shit that's gone on in PFF. So whenever that does come out, I believe he's submitting it here sometime soon for like final edits and whatnot. Go check that out. But he gave me this idea. Quinn and I are going to do a Would You Rather of player, one Would You Rather, a unit, and then just a random one, whatever we think, something football related. So I'm going to throw it to you. And I came up with this one and then remembered probably about 5 seconds after I came up with it and sent it to you that you are a Louisville Lamar stan. So my question was, would you rather Kyler Murray or Lamar Jackson for the next 3 years if Lamar signs the identical contract? On Kyler Murray's contract, would you rather have Kyler or Lamar for the next 3 years?
So, yeah, I mean, I'm not even going to get into really Lamar versus Kyler because, like, obviously I'm a Louisville stan. Both my parents are from Louisville, so it rubbed off on me at some point. But, like, yeah, I mean, I like Lamar better than Kyler Murray. But I also will say, and I think this is the kicker, if they sign the identical deal where I looked it up and it kind of depends on the year, but, like, Kyler's taken up about 19 and a half, I think up to like almost 21% of the salary cap. I think the Ravens would be, because I mean, no disrespect to Arizona, although I guess, you guys just went in on Steve Keim and the Cardinals. So, I guess we can say that, but like the Ravens are just a really well-run organization. And I think they could do much better with the remaining 79, 80% of the salary cap. You know what I mean? Because you already saw it, like when they drafted him, they said like, we're going to totally build this offense around Lamar Jackson. We're going to totally build this team around Lamar Jackson. He hadn't even really played a snap yet, and it works out. He wins an MVP. I have more faith in them being able to do that under the constraints of that contract signed than does Arizona with Kyler Murray.
Yeah, I think that's a great way to look at it. Like flip the situation. So like flip Kyler onto Baltimore, flip Lamar onto Arizona.
Yeah, and I'd be saying
you'd be saying Kyler.
Yeah,
you'd be like, yeah, let me get Kyler. I feel much better in terms of just like success over the next 3 years. So that's like something that's like impossible to take out of the equation. 3 years though, I think is still, Lamar is going to have it for the next 3 years. Now I do worry about his rushing ability, and pretty much fucking anyone's, into their mid 30s, and how it will impact defense still. But 3 years at his age, I don't foresee a fall off. It's tough. I think I go with Lamar just because he will always give you a higher floor than Kyler. I think his worst play is still serviceable, but I really am intrigued by what Kyler will do actually studying 4 hours a week, instead of playing, what was it, Modern Warfare?
Did
you see that?
Have you seen him calling plays? It's not going well.
The last week he did. Cliff was the one fucking up last week. We recorded that with Austin after he did nothing week 1, but last week he kind of dialed it up. Have you seen that theory though about how his play falls off every year when Call of Duty
double XP weekends?
Yeah, that one. There might be something to that. Is there any way? I know in like golf you can like track if like people put in handicaps. You can like actually go physically look how much they play. I wonder if there's any way to do that on. I'm so far out the gaming sphere at this point.
I was a big Modern Warfare 2 guy, and Black Ops guy, the original Black Ops. But yeah, that was 10 years ago now. But yeah, I'm sure. Yes, I'm sure there is some sort of data. Somebody's got that, whether it's like forward facing or not. Somebody absolutely has that. So if you're listening and you have that data, drop in the DMs.
Yeah, we need either Microsoft or Sony come out, give us that data, let us know how often he's actually playing. I wonder if Steve Keim's probably crazy enough to actually try to go through those lengths, try to get that, or like get a burner to friend him and then just track how often he's online. Just every time he logs in, just track that.
What if they like had somebody on the staff? They like hired somebody on the Arizona Cardinals staff to just be like his gaming butt. Maybe that's why they traded for Hollywood Brown.
Could be.
Because I know he's a big gamer too. Maybe they brought him in and just said like, hey, give us what you can on the field. But really what we want you to do is we want you to game every time Kyler's gaming, just report back to us and see what happens.
Because we had that Hollywood Brown trade before the draft. Austin said an intern that games with, before the first round of the draft, an intern that games with Hollywood Brown said he's getting traded tonight. And I'm like,
that's true.
You're like, you mean
did
tomorrow?
we say that? Did that story get told on
I don't know if we told it on
Tailgate,
but we definitely didn't tell it on the show. But we didn't want to out him for, spreading that info. But that was, we can get him to get a mold to be Kyler's gaming habits. Definitely could get in there with that. All right. So my answer, I guess, then is Lamar Jackson, but I think it's very close. That's why I posed that one to you.
All right, and mine. So I'm cheating. I'm kind of rolling player and unit into the same sort of question here because it's topical. Dana White came out the other day and said that he basically had orchestrated a trade for Brady which I don't know how that's legal, right? Like.
Yeah, where
maybe
was
he did.
It wasn't a trade because they're both free agents.
But
it was
he basically had orchestrated that, which whatever.
Yeah.
He basically said Brady and Gronk to Oakland was a done, Vegas was a done deal. He was looking at houses and whatnot, and then everybody's tweeting out the clip of Brady on the shop saying like, "You're sticking with that motherfucker," and it got me thinking: how many teams would actually, given their like current quarterback situations, that's factoring in age, contracts, all that stuff. How many teams do you think would actually stick with their current quarterback as opposed to let's call it 2 years?
2 years. Okay.
Of Brady.
That's a great question. I don't have to go through. I'm going here. I'll go division by division here. AFC East, obviously the Patriots, that's not happening. Bills not happening. I think the Jets would do it at this point. 2 years of Brady, just even to like have those 2 years to play against Belichick, they would do it. I think the Dolphins would do it too. So I go.
The Dolphins did try to do it.
Yeah, the Dolphins literally like tried to sell them half the team to it. So that one seems pretty evident. Broncos with Russ, no. Chiefs, obviously, no. Raiders.
You don't think they would have chosen Brady over Russ?
So I'm doing it more so like at this moment right now with what you got.
He just got back from the Bahamas and
he's got, like literally right now. You can expect 2 years of Brady at the same level. If we go back in like time, like the Bills would have done it going back in time. Right?
Yeah, back in time.
Josh Allen wasn't Josh Allen yet.
Yeah.
So I would go right now. Broncos, I don't think would, just because Russell's going to be there longer. You could probably expect like 6 more years of Russell versus 2 of Brady. Chargers aren't. Raiders, I mean, didn't, but I think they would, right? Like
now, you got Josh McDaniels and you got Devontae Adams. And they'd be dumb to not do it now.
So we're up to 3. We got Ravens. I honestly think the Ravens probably would, right?
I had them as a question mark.
That's a question
just because, like, you know, kind of going back to the last question, their team is like built around Lamar Jackson, and you couldn't find a more polar opposite.
Yeah, that's actually true.
Than Tom Brady. So it's almost like
they don't have the personality to make it work.
But
right
that
now.
being said, you know, Lamar is looking for a new, like,
you
don't know how, like, you got to factor that in. But it's like, do we take a guy that's like literally couldn't be more different as a player than? So I don't know. I had them as a question mark.
Okay, I'll say no to the Ravens just because of the personnel stuff. Browns, yes, right? After the shitstorm that they've gone through with Sean, they would in a heartbeat just be like, yeah, we fucked up.
Yeah,
give us Tom Brady.
I think that's more a case of like Brady. Giselle's not living in Cleveland, and that franchise.
I mean, Brady's not going there.
That franchise is crumbling from the inside out.
Steelers, yes. Don't even think we have to debate that one. Texans, yes. Colts, yes. Jaguars, probably no. I think they'd stick. Titans, yes. Their Tannehill's probably even gone after this contract. Cowboys is a tough one. I think yes.
I think Jerry'd do that in a heartbeat.
Yeah.
Just if for nothing more than to be like, hey, we got Tom Brady and Jerry Jones in the same building.
Just the spectacle of it.
Yeah.
Giants, yes. Easy yes. Eagles, yeah. I mean, honestly, like that could happen. If Jalen Hurts doesn't turn into something real this year, that could very well.
Wasn't that kind of speculated?
Yeah.
First,
I think it was me that speculated.
Okay, yeah, I knew, but I had heard Brady and Eagles mentioned in the same sentence before.
Commanders, yes, we're up to 12. All right, on to the NFC West. Cardinals, I don't think they would. Kyler, Rams, I don't think you move on from Super Bowl winning quarterback, even if Brady is theoretically better. They wouldn't do it.
I mean, but how much longer does Stafford actually?
I mean, they're probably limited in terms of both sides, but like, are you got to ride the horse that got you there? And like at this point. I just like the brass there. Would I do it? Yeah, I would probably do it. Would they do it? I doubt it. 49ers, they didn't want to the first time around, right? They passed.
Yeah,
right? They were.
Yeah, but I mean, I don't know. Like,
it is a sunk cost with Lance.
Trey Lance, you sticking with that motherfucker? Like, I don't know. Like, and I feel like that'd be easy to. Like, I know they passed the first time around, and he's like Brady's a competitive psycho, and he probably. We'll never forget that. But like, it's also his childhood team. I feel like you could very easily be like, hey, sorry, we fucked up. We want you to come and, you know, live out your dream. And he'd probably be like, yeah, you know, give it a go.
I will go with no for the 49ers. I will think that football guys in general struggle with the sunk cost fallacy. They are going to ride out the 3 first-round picks.
Cleats in. Yeah,
3 first-round picks to the bitter end with Trey Lance. Seahawks, hard yes. Easiest yes so far. Bears, I think, yeah. I don't think the new regime has a high opinion of Justin Fields. Just from literally, I was going to say everything they've done to help him, but they haven't done anything to help him. So nothing they've done to help him from what they've done to hurt him, I guess would be probably the accurate way to say that. So I think the Bears are a yes in that. We're up to 14. Lions are a yes. Packers are a no. Vikings are a yes, right? That one, they would trade Kirk Cousins. I mean, Quest even came out, right? He had that great quote. It was like, we know he's not great, or something about Kirk Cousins to the effect.
Yeah,
He's like,
it was like the kind of almost like when a coach or like a coach gets the vote. Like, well, yeah, he's still our coach. And then that's like that's part 2 of like a 3-part, like, oh yeah, you're fired type situation. So yeah, no, they'd probably, if they could bring in Brady, they'd probably be like a competitor, like right out of the fucking gate, just as they are.
And then the South, I think everyone in the South goes for Brady. You got Falcons, Panthers, Saints. We're up to 19. And then obviously the Bucs themselves, they can't really include them. So 19 out of 31 teams, I think, are going Brady. You only got 12.
You forgot the Bengals, which is no.
That's a hard no. I mean, I didn't even bring them up. I didn't want to offend you by even talking about it.
Hard no.
So,
well, depending on who you talk to around here, some people say that they actually do have Tom Brady.
That's, I mean, not even around here. We got people.
That's a lot of national media.
Despite their play styles being just like
yeah,
egregiously different, in my opinion. But I digress. All right. I was going to throw this one at you for the unit. And this one, I think, is going to be an easy answer on your end, but I wanted it more to debate on my end because I may go differently. But the Bengals wide receivers versus the Dolphins wide receivers, and just wide receivers, no tight ends or like pass catching backs, just the wide receivers.
Yeah. So, I mean, I actually thought about it when you sent that to me, and I have the depth charts pulled up right here. I'm still going with Bengals because their trio, Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, Tyler Boyd, I think almost without question is probably the best in the NFL. But I mean, if you're talking about entire receiving cores, you could have a debate, right? Like I think the Bucs total receiving core is probably better than the Bengals have the better tree. Yeah, because the Bengals, like, God forbid something happens, are, a twisted knee on a blade of grass away from like Stanley Morgan or Mike Thomas, not the fake and hamstring injuries, Mike Thomas, away from like running meaningful routes in December and January. And like that's scary. And I know that's like blasphemous to say around here, but I still think with those, because it's Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle is basically what you're buying into. Like Cedric Wilson Jr., he's fine player. Preston Williams, he's fine player. I still don't know if that's moving the needle enough to really supplant that. Because I mean, I don't know if, and again, I'm not trying to disparage my Bengals or anything, but like, I just don't know if this is like a once in a generation type. Like you won't see 3 receivers on the field like this in, I mean, shit. I mean, I mean, you haven't. I'll be a grandpa.
You haven't. Yeah. Like you literally haven't. Yeah. So my take, that was, you kind of, I don't want to say you stole my take, but that was what I was going to bring up in terms of that no one's talked about with this Bengals receiving core. Everyone's like, oh my God, the big 3, they're so fucking good. You are one blade of grass from putting a guy you don't want on the football field at all. Like the worst sort of 4, 5, 6 wide receivers of any team in the NFL in terms of, you got Stanley Morgan, Mike Thomas, Trent Taylor, Trent Irwin. I mean, Kendrick Pryor's looked solid as UDFA this preseason, but like not to the point where
they're special. Like those guys, they're NFL players. They belong on an NFL roster. But again, do you God forbid, and I guess it depends on, right? Like if Tyler Boyd were to go down, Trent Taylor could probably fill in the slot pretty well. But I mean, obviously not the Tyler Boyd level, but he could pass.
Yeah.
Whereas like, if one of your outside, if Chase or Higgins goes down, he can't play out there. You know what I mean? Like you don't really have a good pass catching weapon out there. And at that point, like it severely hampers your offense.
Yeah. I would rather have, after the 3 deep on Miami, I would rather have Preston Williams over any Bengals 4 through 6 wide receiver. I'd rather have Trent Sherfield. I'd rather have Eric Ezekama from what he's shown this preseason over any of the Bengals wide receivers after that. So that's the one thing. I think I still lean, fully healthy, 3 deep, all lean Bengals as well. But if I want the full receiving core, if I'm thinking like, trying to win a Super Bowl, what do I want going into this season? I think I might lean Dolphins.
Yeah, it's kind of like DFS. Like, do you want the fair and balanced approach, or do you want like stars and scrubs? Because the Bengals are like very top heavy, like stars and scrubs. Dolphins a little more well rounded. And if you throw in Gesicki, which I don't know, maybe he's traded by the time this gets published, but that counts too. Yeah. I mean, I know you said wide receiving core, but if you're talking pass catchers, like he essentially is a wide receiver.
He literally is. I mean, he probably should be moved to wide receiver. That dude's not a blocker. And I think they're finding it out there in Miami. All right, what's your next one?
Next one is so this is what'd you call this? Miscellaneous?
Random. Or miscellaneous, whatever you want. So player, unit, and then a random.
Yeah, so we both kind of stuck with a football theme for this first one, and we'll see where it goes as the episodes continue on. But so mine is, you are going to a tailgate. Would you rather have to drink warm beer at said tailgate, or would you rather go to a tailgate with no food?
Ooh. See, I think that one's pretty easy for me, and I think it's no food. I don't love to drink and eat. Like at dinner, when people, have like 3 or 4 drinks at dinner, I don't love that.
That's true.
Because I eat a lot.
Yeah. You can't go to, a steak. You can't go to Fogo de Chao and go hit the town after, because there's got to be a nap in there somewhere.
Because if I'm like sitting down to eat, it's usually going to be a lot of food. But I'm also, if I'm sitting down to drink, it's going to be like a lot to drink. So I feel like shit if I do both at the same time. So I would definitely lean, because a warm beer is just tough to put down, especially some of the beers I drink, which are not good to begin with. So I think that one's pretty obvious since it's cold.
Yeah.
Beers.
So I guess now that I'm actually thinking about it, this is probably a more age-related question, because like we're both, unfortunately, into our 30s. Even though sometimes
you didn't have to bring it up.
Yeah, we don't. You're as young as you feel, but like now, like when I go to a tailgate, it's like there actually is food there, right? Like it's not.
Yes.
But if I'm also assuming this is like a 12 p.m. college or 1 p.m. NFL, right? This isn't like if it's a Monday Night Football game, you can just eat dinner and go afterward. But I mean, like, I don't know, man. Like I'm at a point now where like, people are showing up, like not with a bag of Tostitos. Like people are actually like, grilling and do, I've been at points in my life where I'm trying to grill JTM burgers with just a torn off piece of cardboard from a box of beer, because I don't have a spatula. And like that sucks. Like that's a bad spot to be. Or you show up in like Longworth Hall and you're just walking around with like your 12 Millers, like trying to find a tailgate that maybe has like some finger foods. Like that kind of stinks. So I almost am leaning the warm beer, because I can just power through it. But again, like maybe if I was like 22 years old, where, you just stop and go and grab a bag of Tostitos on the way down, and it's like, oh, this will work, So again, like that's where I'm saying maybe now that I'm thinking about it, this is more of an age-related type. You're going to get different answers depending on who you ask.
It's probably fair. It's very cool. All right, my last one, and this is the debate that I firmly fall on one side of, and I'm curious your thoughts. End zone seats or 50-yard line seats?
How high up? How high up?
Whatever height feels the best to you at either position.
I mean, I guess if we're just talking about just to view the game, 50-yard line. You can see the play. Like if I'm kind of up, maybe like in the second deck, like club level, I'm getting kind of bougie now. But if I'm in like club level, second deck, the owner, lobsters and stuff out, covered. But yeah, I mean, like I think if you're like about halfway up on the 50, you can really see the play like unfold a little bit better. Whereas like in the end zone, like end zone's fun. End zone can get kind of rowdy, but when they're on the other side of the field, there's plays that like when they're on the goal line. I mean, you're watching on the jump, like you can't even really see what's going on. It's just a massive humanity.
I just love the angle better, because I can't tell line play for shit from the 50-yard line. Like it just looks like a mess. And then you get the routes developing real nice and like that quarterback type of view, but you cannot tell like what's going on at the line of scrimmage. Like run plays. Run plays are just a mess from the 50-yard line. Maybe I'm just a purist, but I am an end zone guy through and through. That was the seats obviously I grew up going to, which may have skewed me to a degree.
That's a big part of it. So like I kind of was trying to be objective there, but like both at Bengals games and UC University of Cincinnati games, which I go to, my friends and the people that I will usually end up sitting with have end zone seats. So I'm trying to factor that out, right? Like, cause I would rather sit with that. I'd rather sit in the worst seat in the house if I'm with people that I enjoy being around, as opposed to just sitting in a with randos on the 50. But I'm talking like just objectively speaking, I like the 50.
And the other underrated thing about the 50, or overrated thing about the 50, is I was at the 50 we got seats through PFF, and Chris got them. I don't even actually know who got them for the Bengals Packers game last year. And when McPherson missed the field goal, I couldn't tell.
Yeah, that's true.
I couldn't see if it went in front of or behind the post. The one that was to the south end zone and he missed just to the left. I can't remember if it was like the game winner in regulation or what it was. but I could not see where that one missed. And maybe it was Crosby's field goal, but like when you're at
was
those
a lot
seats,
of them.
it's like there's a ton of missed ones. So I'm not exactly sure which one, but end zone though, never have that happen. So
Also, and we're getting way into the weeds here, but I feel like the stadium itself plays a lot into it too, right? Like if I have easier access to restrooms and concessions, if I'm somewhere in the, you know what I mean? Like, and again, it depends on where you're at in the aisle, but like, that's a big thing too. Like, I love ease of access to restrooms and beer, right? If I can sneak out during a punt and get back before the commercials are done and I can get, watch first down, like that's
a
big.
must. That's a must
Yeah.
no matter where you are.
That's
that
big.
one's we factored that in. Both have those for the stadium. But yeah. All right. Last segment here. Since Amazon, I actually didn't know that they dropped it a few days ago, their new intro music for Thursday Night Football. I only ended up finding it today. But we're going to power rank the theme songs for each network that covers the NFL. And to me, there is like a correct tiering of this. Amazon's was absolutely horrible. Amazon's by far the worst one, in my opinion. It looked like Coach Fast actually on Twitter had the great take on this. It looked like they had Alexa listen to all the other songs and just try to come up with their own song. They were like in the same mold, but it just had no energy to it whatsoever. So you want to play that for the people, listen to this real quick, and then it's just not. A clear 6. We're just going to do top 5 here, which are basically every other networks. At number 5, I think Monday Night Football on ESPN is the clear like worst of the 5. It has kind of like a showy feel
used to
it.
not
like,
be. Monday Night Football used to be like the premier, like who was it? Hank Williams. Like that used to be.
That was hot.
Yeah, that was hot, and that was like iconic, and that's not a thing.
But like it's just. It feels like it's like bright lights coming on. It's like you're watching a Broadway show almost. Like it's really gets that energy, but it doesn't feel like football.
Yeah, it's a letdown. You go from Hank like iconic type intro to it's a mid off. It's just a bunch of mid.
And then after that though, I think the top 4 are interchangeable, in my opinion, in terms of just like quality. It's like what you value after that. I think the other 4 knocked it all out the park. But my take is CBS, NBC, CBS at 4, NBC at 3, NFL Network. And that one might be controversial because it's a little newer than the other ones. But the run of the playoffs, that used to be my ringtone actually in college. I love it so much. The one like the bells starting up, building up, and then like dropping. Love that one. And then I may be biased here as a grown up Packers fan watching games on Fox, but like Fox nails football. The Fox intro is just pure football. Like that is like you are ready to watch on a Sunday afternoon. I want that like feeling that it generates in my life more, truthfully.
I think you hit the nail on the head too with like it depends on what you watch, because like I would have had CBS a lot higher because the Bengals play at 1 p.m. on CBS a lot. So like
you get that
when I watch that and I hear that noise, like my mind immediately associates like, okay, here's Bengals football. But Packers play on Fox at 4 p.m. a lot. I mean, shit, like the viral TikTok now is the Fox intro with Joe Buck saying, "Welcome to Lambeau Field," where we got that. You know what I'm talking about? Yeah. Like that's just, you're right. Like it is synonymous with that. And if you grew up with that, like that's what your brain's automatically going to default to.
I will say NBC does a great job capturing like the grandiosity. It's like a very big song.
Yeah.
But like
Carrie Underwood.
But the Fox 1, NFL Network 2, NBC 3, CBS 4, Monday Night Football 5. What would your top 5 have been, Quinn?
You're putting me on the spot here. I agree with Monday Night Football at 5. I'll probably go NFL Network at 4.
Yeah, I think that was probably my most controversial opinion. NFL Network.
NBC 3, Fox, CBS.
The Fox, CBS. Yeah, I like it. Those top 4 are interchangeable. They did it. They all did it. And Amazon proved how difficult it is to really capture that ethos. There you have it, though. The first episode of Talkin' Ball. We will be back on Monday. Like I said, send some mailbag questions, if you have them, to the PFF_Talkin' Ball Twitter account. On Sunday, DM them over. Follow the PFF_Talkin' Ball Twitter account if you want. We'll be tweeting out stuff about the show, other stuff that you're probably going to want to follow if you are a fan. And on Monday, we have, who do we have on Monday, Quinn? What's the guest we have on Monday? I should know this. Bruce Feldman. We'll be talking
Brett
Freaks List.
I mean, we've got a lot of them stashed away.
Bruce Feldman is on Monday. We talk Freaks List, my favorite article every year. We'll go through the Freaks List, probably the top prospects, highlight some top prospects from it before that. So that will be Monday's show. Hope you guys enjoy week 0 of college football. Till next time.